NFL legendary head coach Bill Belichick may be returning to the sidelines next season, and the Dallas Cowboys are reportedly among the jobs he would consider. Meanwhile, Houston Texans head coach D'Amico Ryans is heading into the Senior Bowl Hall of Fame. The NBA play-in tournament saw action on Wednesday night with the 76ers winning and the Bulls taking care of the Hawks. We have a lot to get into here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
How good do you want to be? From play one to the last play, we fighting. Today's about opportunity and character. We got a chance to come out here and play football. It's a blessing. Hey, every season is full of defining moments. Let's make this day a defining moment for us in our quest. Let's go, baby.
This is the Morning Huddle on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star with Rob Thompson and the managing editor of Blogging the Boys, RJ Ochoa. Now, here are the guys.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. In case we do not see you, this is the Morning Huddle here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. We are Rob Thompson-less, but I am RJ Ochoa, the aforementioned from Blogging the Boys. And we decided to walk outside the house of the one and only Jason Minix with some pots and pans and clang them together because the NHL playoffs start this weekend and nobody else is better suited to discuss them. Jason, congratulations on pulling a double on this fine Thursday.
You know, it's not only pulling a double today, but it really is kind of like pulling a triple to wake up this morning, although from the kitchen, it's not bad. Alarm goes off around, I don't know what time, but I get out at 5. My wife's already pissed, so that I'm off to a good start. Roll over to the kitchen, do this, get a nap, taste of the north side tonight. Well, we'll do the blitz, and then it's taste of the north side. It's fiesta time, so everybody's going to be burning their candle on both ends.
It is a wonderful time of the year. Some would say the best time of the year, although I don't know if we can take down the fall and the football season and all of the fun festivities that come with that. But it's kind of hard to be mad at this time of year. You know, if there was a solid silver medal, we're here.
Silver medal, huh? It's interesting because we do this all the time. Like, is this the greatest weekend in sports? You know, a couple of weeks ago, we were doing the show, The Blitz, out at Circa Las Vegas because it was opening day of Major League Baseball. It was the second round of the NCAA tournament.
That's why you were at the Cirque, was because it was opening day in Major League Baseball. That's why.
That is correct. That is correct. Masters weekend is glorious. There are so many great weekends in weeks and times a year. There are busy months. I mean, and you talk about this time of year, NBA, Stanley Cup playoffs get started tomorrow. We had a very interesting and awkward introductory press conference yesterday for Caitlin Clark. You have all of that, yet a week from today is the NFL draft that will take over all of those great things that are happening right now.
That's correct. 1 week from tonight, the Dallas Cowboys will finally have to do something or else.
Here we go. It's going to be a long 4 hours, isn't it?
Their options to ignore activity are finally just something that is in a tough spot for them. I mean,
over under that the clock is ticking and they say pass.
I'm not gonna
money pass.
I'm not gonna put any wagers out. But on the subject of that, we also got the first lifetime ban for gambling in what, like a lifetime? No pun intended there. I mean, obviously Pete Rose wasn't a lifetime ago, but it had been a very, very long time since we saw something like the Jonte Porter situation. I know y'all got into on the Blitz yesterday, but wow, that was a big domino.
It was a big domino, but it was a layup for Adam Silver.
Sure.
You take a two-way player like Jonte Porter. We're not talking about his brother. We're talking about Jonte. A guy that in his NBA career has made about $3 million. And he pisses that away for $21,000 in net winnings. It doesn't make sense, but it made it easy for Adam Silver to take a non-star player and say, you're the example. If that were a star player, I wonder what Adam Silver would have done. I look at Ohtani in the situation that he's in, and Major League Baseball has done nothing, considering you're talking about the biggest baseball star on planet Earth. But, according to baseball, he had nothing to do with that, had no idea. None. Zero. None. It's just amazing that this guy knew nothing about what was going on. So nothing. So I do think it was a layup for Adam Silver, but it was a statement that had to be sent.
There's an episode of Friends. I know you're familiar with the entire catalog where Monica is the head chef of a restaurant and the employees don't respect her. So Joey says, hey, you know what? Hire me. And I just like, then fire me. You know what I mean? Like, I'll go, work for you for a week and then you can fire me and set an example and everybody else can kind of be afraid of you. And there's a long process of the whole episode. He goes by the pseudonym Dragon in the episode.
Uh-huh.
And I know that's
really?
important to you.
Yeah. Big time.
And so at the end, she like cusses him out and she fires him and everybody's like, oh crap, this lady means business. So you're right. In some ways, Jonte Porter was Adam Silver's Dragon on Wednesday afternoon.
Do you remember the Jimmy Johnson story, the guy that got cut for falling asleep in a meeting and they left him on the tarmac and all that kind of stuff? What was his name?
Well, there were several. So the ones that come to mind, they left Troy Aikman at Candlestick after the NFC Championship game because he was late in getting on the bus and he had to ride the media bus back to catch the team charter.
No, I'm talking about a guy that just got cut.
Well, I also remember the guy that got cut. Was it Curvin Richards for fumbling in the final game of the regular season?
I mean,
there's the asthma field story. There's a billion of those.
No, there's one, and I'm trying to piece the story together. Forgive me, it's 6:00 in the morning. I should be asleep, like we're talking about sleeping in the meetings. But the famous story was, somebody fell asleep. Jimmy Johnson cut his ass. And it was easy because that was a guy that probably wasn't going to make the team anyway. Jimmy was asked, well, what if Emmitt Smith fell asleep in the meeting? And Jimmy said along the lines of we would turn down the lights and get him a pillow. There is different treatment for star players.
That's life, obviously, and that's corporate America. And it's funny that Jimmy would fess up to that, idea. There was a Michael Irvin story as well. That he was late getting to the team charter for a game. And I think he missed the team charter and had to fly. I don't know that he flew coach, but he got there and Jimmy got all huffed and puffed and said, okay, you're not starting as a result of this. And he missed the first play. And then Jimmy was like, all right, get the hell in there. Because, he proved his point. But, if that had been somebody else, to your point, maybe he would have missed one play or more than one play. So that's the life of star players. Speaking of Caitlin Clark, we found out last night. I know everybody is super concerned with her salary for whatever weird reason. She's going to be okay because there are all sorts of reports that she is nearing as Shams put it, a lucrative 8-figure endorsement deal with Nike. She is set to receive her own signature shoe. Very cool for Caitlin Clark.
It is very cool for Caitlin Clark. And I think a lot of talk about the salaries right now are just simply the differences between like an NBA player, rookie, first overall pick, say Wemby and his guaranteed money, and then, of course, what they don't make in the WNBA. And even though she is going to be okay, and this is a great 8-figure deal with Nike to go along with the other commercials that she's already doing and our NIL stuff that is going to carry over. But I don't know that you should look at it from a sense of, well, she's going to be okay. Look at this Nike deal she was going to get. If she were making the identical money that Wemby was getting, she would still be getting that 8-figure deal from Nike. So it supplements her income. She's not going to starve anytime soon. She's not going to worry about, her light bill or paying her mortgage. But on the level of having more equality in salary, that is still a big issue between the NBA and the WNBA.
I think that I don't know that it will be the way it should be at the end of Caitlin Clark's career, but she's definitely going to help equalize and provide some equilibrium throughout the course of her career for the next generations to come. I think that goes without saying at this point.
Well, if Caitlin Clark can do for the WNBA what she did for the NCAA women's tournament, what she did for women's basketball when she was on television, if the ratings for the WNBA are way up, and all but 2 of the Indiana Fever games right now are scheduled for national TV, if there is higher TV ratings, there's going to be more revenue generated by the WNBA, which means there's more money coming in, which should bring those salaries up. That's how it works. All of these different sports, all those salaries are going up because of those TV contracts.
On the subject of TV, did you watch either of the playing games last night? Did you watch Philly come back? Chicago take care of business?
I watched both. That Philly game was fantastic. And I think Philly's Knicks is going to be fantastic. Jimmy Butler, watching him limp out of the stadium. Well, and it is a bummer that, in the West, Zion, he's not going to be available for the Pelicans. So, you kind of feel like, all right, well, they've got Sacramento should go down there and roll New Orleans without Zion, although New Orleans has swept Sacramento to this point this year. And if Jimmy Butler can't play, then, all right, so it takes some of that out of there. But overall, I've really enjoyed the play-in tournament aspect of things. Although at this point, let's move on. Do I need these Friday night games with two-star players that aren't going to be in there?
Yeah, this particular permutation of actual play-in games, like win or go home, do or die, is kind of, what the Zion and Jimmy Butler injuries. On the subject of the kind of aftermath of it all, though, Trae Young got nothing to do now. So Trae Young, you want to pick up the phone, you want to do a Zoom call or something like that, we're free too. You know what I mean?
I like the idea of Trae Young. The asking price that we've heard for Trae Young, there's no way in hell Trae Young is coming to San Antonio. None, zero, zilch. Watching Trae Young last night, if you're a Spurs fan, you probably talked yourself out of wanting Trae Young to come here and say, is he a Spur? Watching DeJounte last night made you say, God, I miss that dude. I don't know that Trae Young played Spurs-like basketball last night. And I'm not just talking about his piss-poor shooting performance. It was all of it. When you have Richard Jefferson on TV talking about, well, you got this, and you got to make a better pass here, and you got to do this. Out of the idea of Trae Young there, although I'm not in on Trae Young coming to San Antonio. It's a fun name to talk about because he was buddy-buddy with Wemby at the All-Star game, but the asking price and what the Spurs are going to do, and if you look at what Mike Finger wrote in the Express News yesterday, quoting Brian Wright, as the Spurs are going to be strategically aggressive, Trae Young doesn't fit. Talk yourself out of Trae Young. That's not going to happen.
I will believe that when it officially doesn't happen, but for now I'm allowed to hold out hope. That's my position right now.
So you really want Trae Young?
I really want something. Trae Young represents the carrot to me. You know what I'm saying? Like, if I have to put a face on the carrot right now, it's Trae Young, but I'm chasing the carrot. It may be a fruitless endeavor, but I'm chasing the carrot nonetheless, because we cannot sit by and do nothing and be idle and chill and just, oh, cool, Wemby will be here year two and it's all going to be great. It's all going to be fun. So, yeah.
So in the chase for an all-star, right now you've got Trae Young as your clubhouse leader, but you've got a whole lot of other guys on the course that are playing really good golf right now. And so while Trae Young is the current leader, there's no way he's going to finish on top of that leaderboard and end up in San Antonio. I'll give you that.
That's fair. Well, we have a lot to get into this morning, including everything that we just kind of zoomed in from a 30,000-foot perspective. But up next, we're going to get into Jonte Porter and the story, gambling, because while you're right, Jason, this was kind of a layup for Adam Silver. The facts are that they are, I don't want to say in some uncharted territory, but they're in some murky waters. And if you think this is the only player across all of sports who happen to consider this as an option for them, well, we've got some beachfront property in the middle of Iowa to sell you. We've got a lot to get into, as mentioned this morning. Do not go anywhere or Jason will be pissed. You're listening to 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It's the 2024 NFL Draft on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
We're the 24th pick. The Dallas Cowboys select
April 25th, 26th, and 27th. Join 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star for this year's NFL Draft, live from Detroit.
I love the tenacity and the aggression with which he plays. He is a mauler.
Who do the Cowboys and Texans pick? Does Jerry make a splash? Who goes number one? And who's the next Mr. Irrelevant?
The Houston Texans select C.J. Stroud.
You don't ever want to pass on the guy you ought to be taking there, but still be position
I
selected.
thought Sauce Gardner would be the first corner, but you go back to 2019, and that version of Derek Stingley is as good as anybody in this entire draft class.
Find out right here on your exclusive home for the NFL Draft. 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Hey, Rob Thompson here for Tri-County Meat Market. The weekend is here. You better head over to Tri-County because the specials are stacked deep and they're getting rid of everything you need to up your grilling game. Time to go get some prime or some akaushi, some wagyu, and put it on the grill. Specials are waiting on you. 5 for $25 in play today. Head over there. They're going to fill a bag with 5 items that are going to fill 2 menus. $25. No better deal in all of San Antonio. Trust me on this. If you're heading over for fine hamburger, you're not going to get anything better than what Tri-County does. I think that meat actually expands on the grill, and the house-made dog's as good as you're going to get. You're looking for a tomahawk, they got them. Bone in, bone out. Ribeyes, the porterhouses. Oh, my goodness. That's Tri-County Meat Market. 2 locations, Huebner and Ralph Fair. Looking for a great rub, looking for something to go along with that great meat. They got that, too. Head over to Tri-County today. Get some of that great meat, put it on a grill, and I know you're going to be thanking me later.
Over the past decade, the Roo Pub has proven to be the best place to watch games with those 3 massive 170-inch screens and TVs all around. All the games, all the UFC fights, and when you show up at the Roo Pub, show up hungry. The food is fantastic. Open daily at 11. Great for lunch, great for dinner, great for late at night, and certainly the best place to watch a game. The Roo Pub is next to the Angry Elephant and in the same plaza as the Big Blind there at 281 in Redland Road. We'll see you at the Roo.
I lock up my Old Spice Fiji aluminum-free dry spray to keep that 24/7 lasting freshness safe for myself. Fresh coconuts, palm trees in the wind. It's like catching waves in Fiji. Actually, I just talked myself into a refreshing spritz of Fiji. My Old Spice is missing! No!
Hey everyone, it's Ted from Consumer Cellular, the guy in the orange sweater, and this is your wake-up call. If you're paying too much for wireless service, you don't have to keep having that nightmare. Consumer Cellular has the same fast, reliable coverage as the leading carriers for less. And for a limited time, new customers receive their 2nd month free when they sign up and use promo code MONTHFREE by May 31st. So why keep spending more than you have to? Seriously, wake up! And call 1-888-FREEDOM or visit consumercellular.com.
Taxes, fees, and other third-party charges will apply. See website for additional details. 3 little words no parent wants to hear.
My tummy hurts.
And it always seems to happen at the worst times. Like in the middle of the morning rush, when you still have homework to check and lunches to pack, and of course, you're already late for work. Luckily, there's Pepto Kids. Pepto Kids gummies help relieve occasional stomach upsets, turning those 3 words into these 3 words.
I feel better.
Bad time for stomach upsets? Good time for Pepto Kids gummies. Fast support for little tummies.
These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
Pluto TV has over 300 channels and thousands of TV shows and movies for whatever mood you're in. Just open the app and something good will already be playing because it's curated by people who love TV as much as you do. So if you're in the mood for comedy, there's 18 channels that'll make you laugh. Looking for drama? We got so much of it, you'll cry tears of joy. Reality shows, game shows, sports, Star Trek, and even more Star Trek. No matter what mood you're in, there's something on Pluto TV. Just download the app and start streaming. Pluto TV. Stream now, pay never.
Ask Sherwin-Williams during the 4-day super sale, April 19th through the 22nd, and get 40% off paints and stains with prices starting at $26.69. That means 40% off our most popular color family, blue. Psychologists have found it to be soothing and relaxing, which makes it especially great for bedrooms and bathrooms. And of course, get 40% off all of our other colors. Shop the sale online or visit your neighborhood Sherwin-Williams store. Retail sales only. Some exclusions apply. See store for details.
I'm Tiffany, founder of Harlem Pilates. When I couldn't find Pilates in my neighborhood, I started a studio from my studio apartment. Chase Inc. helped me grow from 1 Pilates studio to 3. Because when you start small, you're going to need some big help.
With the Chase Inc. Business Cash Card, you can earn up to 5% cash back on business essentials, so your business can go from here to possible. Chase for Business. Make more what's yours. Real business owner compensated for their participation. Cards issued by JP Morgan Chase Bank, NA member FDIC, subject to credit approval. Terms apply.
Twin Peaks is the best in the game. Here, the scenic views stick around after the sun sets, and your favorite cocktails keep you company long after overtime. Where else can you unwind with bourbon and late-night bites? Only at Twin Peaks, the #1 sports bar.
If you can't sleep because of annoying knee pain, that's a problem. If you stop running because your feet always hurt, that's a problem. If your elbow, shoulder, and neck pain make it impossible for you to do your job, that is a problem, and it's time to finally do something about it. I'm Dr. Jason Garrett from Arasti. At Arasti, we fix pain fast. No medications, no injections. Arasti treatment is completely natural and non-invasive. Plus, we accept most insurance plans. There's a location near you. Visit Arasti.com. That's AIRROSTI.com. Arasti, we fix pain fast.
When your business needs an electrician, for over 35 years, the family-owned Hill Electric has served San Antonio. Powered by relationships with dedicated estimators who analyze the issue, research cost-effective solutions, and clearly communicate the options without charging you a dime. A proven process that allows you to continue focusing on your unique purpose. Call Hill Electric at 210-404-9074. That's 404-9074. Or hill-electric.com.
The NFL is on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Welcome back. It is the Morning Huddle on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. I'm Arjo Ochoa. He is not Rob Thompson either. He is Jason Minix. Jason, are you properly awake yet?
Properly?
Yeah.
I'm not even sure what that means. I'm up. I've had a 5-hour energy. I'm on a second glass of tea. I have not eaten anything yet. That will change at some point, I suppose. But I'm up, rocking, rolling, ready to go. I'm an hour in. I've had a shower. That's the important thing for me. I am not a coffee drinker. To me, a shower is like 3 cups of coffee. If I get up and I take a shower, I am good. I'm good for the day.
How many cups of coffee it's equivalent to if you're not a coffee drinker? How could you possibly know?
For the people that I know that are coffee drinkers, 2 or 3 is about the max for them to get their day started.
So you just made that up. Completely made that up. Interesting.
No, I clearly just said those that I know that are coffee drinkers, 2 or 3 cups is what is required for them to get their day going. For me, a shower is required for me to get my day going. So equivalent of 2 or 3 cups of coffee.
I'm not trusting the math on this one, but you can live in your own world.
I look at my mom, my dad. They, my dad 3 cups, my mom 2 to get their day going. My wife has already had 1 cup of coffee, and hell, she's still more or less in bed. She will have another one or fill up one of those massive mug things before they go to work. See, and I'm not a coffee drinker, so I'm like Bill Belichick. Bill Belichick said yesterday on Pat McAfee he has never had a cup of coffee.
That was wild. And I also don't believe him whatsoever. As somebody who was an NFL coach in the 90s or 80s, like you had to have had something. That's impossible. I don't believe him.
Well, see, here's the thing. How can you tell me you don't like it if you've never tried it? So I like the smell of coffee. I don't like the aftertaste of coffee. I like the smells of some coffees, not all of them. But when I was in the Navy, I did try to become a coffee drinker. Every morning on the ship, you'd go down and you'd get coffee, and I'd take a sip or 2 and throw it away and go get some iced tea or get some water. I tried because that's what you did. I got to believe Bill Belichick tried, and he just didn't like it. But he said he has never had a cup of coffee.
Well, Bill is probably lying, and that's okay. You know what I mean? We'll all survive the fact that Bill Belichick lied to us. Jonte Porter lied seemingly to a lot of people, and was also honest with a lot of people, which was kind of the problem. Adam Silver, the NBA, issuing a lifetime ban on a Wednesday to Jonte Porter, 2-way player for Toronto. Not a big deal, and there's no real basketball implications here. But this does feel like the eye of the storm for Adam Silver, for all sports commissioners, because imagine if this had, you brought up a little while ago, if this had been a more notable player. Imagine if this had been on a more notable team, right? Imagine if this had been a Celtic. Imagine if this had been a Nuggets player. Imagine if this had been, a Laker, right? Like, imagine if this had been on a player on a team of serious consequence here. I mean, if you're betting, if you're taking the unders, if you're goal is to lose or, ensure that less is offered, I don't know this is about, protecting the integrity of the game for Adam Silver, but it's about protecting the idea of the integrity of the game, because once you tug at that thread, everything becomes a whole different mess.
It is the integrity of the game. And especially now with legal gambling in so many states, not yet Texas, with all the leagues now accepting advertising dollars from gambling websites, from casinos, it is promoted everywhere. The idea of protecting the integrity of the game is more important now than ever before. As I sit here right now reading the article at ESPN.com, there's an ad for ESPN Bet while I'm reading about Jonte Porter getting a lifetime ban. Now, I saw a tweet yesterday, and I just looked it up. Porter has made $2.3 million, almost $2.4 million playing basketball. On these bets, he only made about 22,000, 21,965, according to the numbers that were released yesterday by the NBA. But currently, he is on a two-way contract with the Toronto Raptors, making about $410,000 this year. And I think that could be part of the problem, because yes, he has pissed away NBA money. And as I thought about this story yesterday, after the blitz, when we were talking about this yesterday, it's not necessarily that he did. He pissed away his NBA career getting this lifetime ban, and he was making good money. But I thought about a story that former Cowboys wide receiver Patrick Creighton told me one time about Sam Hurd. Remember Sam Hurd? San Antonio guy, made it to the Cowboys. He ended up doing time for selling drugs, right? And PC told me, Patrick Creighton, that even though Sam was making good money, at the time, his friends on the team were the guys making $10, $12 million. He was still the poor man in the group. So now you've got a guy that's on a two-way contract, hanging out with guys that are making millions. He's making hundreds of thousands. He's still the poor guy in the group. So he's always chasing that extra money, and he found a way thinking, well, these bets aren't big enough for them to give a damn about. There's a loophole. There's always that guy that feels like he's going to be able to get away with something, and it was Porter in this case, trying to make extra money, still the poor guy in the group, even though he's in the NBA.
I think it's always difficult to turn down something that seems like a sure thing, right?
Easy money.
That's gambling in a nutshell. It's like, oh yeah, I'll just check in. I'll run up and down the court a few times, and then I'll have an eye thing, and I'll have to leave the game, and boom, we all get out of here, and we'll all, have a happy, merry time. I don't know that this is about Jonte Porter as much as it's about what he represents. I mean, from a just probability standpoint, right? Like, and I'm not trying to be negative or, I guess not see the good in people or whatever, but do you really believe in all major professional American sports that Jonte Porter is the only person who not only got this idea, but executed it on some level? That's impossible to believe. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just absolutely impossible to believe.
He's been caught. How many guys in the NFL have been caught? And there's been one star player. And
most of them have been caught gambling on other things, which is a different thing to be debated.
But fair. But when you look at gambling in all, it's everywhere. You know what? Advertising works. These guys see the ads, they see the money, it's fun, it's competitive, whether you're doing a $2 bet, a $10 bet, a $100 bet, it's fun to do. And that's part of the reason why I think it's ridiculous to think that Ohtani had no idea this was going on with a guy that he spends so much time with. That's nuts. You win a bet, you share it with your friends. You lose, you're watching a game, you're tense down the stretch. I was this way the other night with my underdog fantasy because I had Draymond Green over 12.5 points, and the dude finished with 12. Cost me, but that's one of the reasons that you do it. It's fun, but if you're a pro player, you have to understand. And yeah, you're right, RJ. I don't think he is the only one. He's going to become the poster boy for now. But what needs to happen? I know that I've read before that Adam Silver, when you look at like the underdog fantasies and the DraftKings and the Prize Picks, maybe you take out the individual type higher, lower on stats for guys that are players like Porter. Maybe you leave them only for the star players that are making $20 million that might not be swayed by making an extra couple $100 that week. Kind of like what they're talking about doing with some college players, like can you take the individuals out of college basketball? I'm not sure what the answer is, but everybody thinks that, well, I'm not going to get caught. I'm not a big enough player for them to worry about. This isn't enough money for them to worry about, but it is. And everybody that does something wrong, they all think they're not going to get caught, right? Porter knows he's not supposed to do that. You know that. There's signs everywhere in arenas. They talk about it. It's everywhere. It's just you don't think you're going to get caught.
You got caught. You got banned. And now we wait and see if there's any sort of aftermath, not just in the NBA, but across the world of sports. Looking at a different sport, 1 week from tonight is the NFL draft. And because they will be forced to do so, the Dallas Cowboys will finally have to do something. What will that be? We'll get into it next here on the Morning Huddle on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It's The Blitz with Jason and Joe. Afternoons at 2.
Coming up on The Blitz, it is going to be a special Thursday because The Blitz is live at the Taste of the North Side.
Yeah, a week away from the NFL draft, the latest on what the Cowboys and Texans might be doing. Plus, we'll react to the NBA play-in games from last night. The Blitz live at Taste of the North Side. We start at 2.
The Blitz with Jason and Joe. Afternoons at 2 on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
When was the last time you went to the dentist? Need a new dentist? Hi, Jason Minix here. Go see my dentist at Smile Structure Dentistry and Braces. Smile Structure can handle all your dentistry needs, from general dentistry to oral surgery, orthodontics for the kids, or Invisalign for adults. Mention this ad, get a free exam and x-rays. Veteran owned with 5 San Antonio area locations. Learn more and book an appointment online at smilestructure.com. That's smilestructure.com.
Hey, it's Rob Thompson here for Prize Picks. It's America's #1 sports fantasy act. 3 million players. Yes, I'm a member. You should be too. Download it now and remember the code Alamo, and you can get a deposit match of up to $100. Basketball is balling, baby. Football is coming. Baseball is swinging. It is time to go to Prize Picks because you put your fantasy knowledge into action. You know more. You know your less. You know who's better or not. You know what's going on. You're a fantasy player. Put that knowledge to work. I have, along with so many others. And right now, remember the code Alamo, and you can get a $100 deposit match right now. Go download Prize Picks. We love watching Connor McDavid, Jude Bellingham, LeBron James. They are playing go more or less. It's so easy to do, and now's the time to go. You know when it's more, you know when it's less, and when you pair them together, you can win big bucks, up to 100 times your money. More, less, Prize Picks, Alamo. Go there.
There's never any FOMO with the iHeartRadio app. You won't ever have to miss out on your favorite shows and contests with this radio station again. Radio 24/7, 365. We're here when you want us. Stay connected and listen anywhere when you download the free iHeartRadio app.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-9313. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at tra.com or call 800-575-9313. That's 800-575-9313. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Folks, quality is a huge deal. It's what I look for when I recommend something to my listeners. It means you can depend on it. Quality means it won't let you down. It's something you can be proud of. Well, that's the definition of a Connecticut water softener. With other water softener brands, you just never know. Maybe they work half the time or they're just plain junk. A Connecticut water softener is up to 80% more efficient than competing models and will be the last water softener you'll ever own. That's because you're buying quality, and it's backed up with an outstanding 10-year warranty, too. If you're ready to enjoy all the benefits that come with quality, bring home a Connecticut water softener. Call the team at Connecticut at 656-PURE or online at ConnecticutSA.com. That's 656-PURE or ConnecticutSA.com and tell them Dave Ramsey sent you.
The last water softener you'll ever own. Call 656-PURE Connecticut.
Hey, it's Jim Rome, and it's great to be back in San Antonio. Join me weekdays at noon on my new home, 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Who will it be? Who will be the Dallas Cowboy tasked with saving the team, saving the organization because they did nothing in free agency? The NFL draft begins 1 week from tonight. And cards will finally be on the table, Jason Minix. I mean, honestly, I'm fascinated because we're finally going to get to learn something. The Cowboys have held all the cards close to the vest to this point. They have to play them. They have to show them. The flop is coming.
It really is. I love you, RJ. But man, you have been salty this offseason.
Salty or awakened? There's a difference.
No, you're just salty. You're so down on the Cowboys, and I get it. I think every Cowboy fan is. The frustration level that Cowboy fans feel right now. This is the strangest offseason that I can remember in 16 years of doing radio here on this station. Just with the constant negativity. There's not been that one, all right, cool, this is finally something that's heading in the right direction. And it's weird. And I think a big part of that is, well, Jerry Jones saying the words all in. And fans and everybody in the sports world understands when you say all in, what that means. Now, I don't give a damn what Jerry has said since. Your definition is different than mine, Stephen, saying all teams are all in. I mean, base gets an expectation, and Jerry, you have let them down again. But at the same time, when you think about what the Cowboys haven't done, it is telling. And, I don't know if you consider me glass half full or half empty, and it might depend on the hour, the minute, or the topic. But it's been a bizarre offseason, and I think the biggest part of that is it feels like every year the Cowboys are very open and maybe talk too much. Like, we get mad at the Cowboys. Jerry, I can't believe he said that. They show us their cards before they play them. And this year, the Cowboys really are being a little bit more Spurs-like, and it's pissing us off because we have no idea what they are really doing, what the plan is.
I don't think that they're being more of that than anything. I would say that they've been this way for a long time. And maybe it's a bit exacerbated. The all-in thing means nothing to me. Like, anybody who's still, legitimately upset about the all-in thing is just being, pedantic. They're not, that's not a serious conversation to me.
I feel like I'm talking to you with that.
No, the quote means nothing to me.
You might say it means nothing, RJ, but everything you say seems to circle back to that with the frustration of all in and doing nothing.
I have zero qualms with the quote. The quote is Jerry talking, and that's going to be Jerry, and that's going to be a factor no matter what. My problem isn't even that they're doing nothing. It's not that specifically. It's that they continue to set themselves up poorly. They continue to paint themselves into corners. They continue to put themselves in positions where they have nothing to do but the one thing that's in front of them. They continue to give whatever the circumstance is, whether it's a player, whether it's an opportunity, all of the leverage. They've given Dak Prescott all of the leverage. They're in the process of giving CeeDee Lamb all of the leverage. They're much earlier in the process, but in the process, nonetheless, of giving Micah Parsons all of the leverage. And similarly, you can sit here, you can tell us that you're going to draft the best player available when they have their pre-draft press conference next week. That's what they're going to say. But it's not going to be a coincidence when you walk away with an offensive lineman, when you walk away with a running back, when you walk away with a linebacker. They've given the idea of needing those positions and that help on their roster all of the leverage. They have not learned an ability to be forward thinking. And it's not just being mad that, like, wow, look at the Eagles. The Eagles can be forward thinking. It's look at yourselves. But like, remember when you touched the stove and it was hot? It's still hot. You know what I'm saying? Like they haven't learned their own lessons yet. That's the biggest thing that bothers me about this team.
It's a different philosophy, clearly, with the Cowboys and the Eagles. And the Eagles get a ton of credit for paying guys early. The Cowboys have done that before, but the guys got to be willing to take that. And one of the knocks on if you sign a guy early is they're back at the negotiating table sooner.
That's not necessarily true. But
well, I mean, the Eagles signed Smith early, right? Was that a year?
But it's
early?
an extension. It's still on top of his existing contract. Like the time is still the time.
But he will be able to force a new deal sooner rather than later. And I get it. It's a different philosophy. It ties up more money, all of that kind of stuff. Jerry has done it both ways. The Cowboys have done it both ways. I maintain with like for CeeDee Lamb, for example, because they've completely butchered the Dak deal. Although when you talk to Jerry about it, Jerry feels like he won that deal because he wants a long contract and Dak wanted a short contract. And with 2 tags, I don't believe this, but I know this is what Jerry has said. By playing on the 2 tags and then signing the deal, Jerry got the years out of that negotiating style that he was looking for. He could do the same with CeeDee Lamb if that's what he chose to do. It does cost them. It's seemingly more money. It does feel like the players are getting the leverage, but at the same time, that's the way the Cowboys set it up, and they know exactly, or I would say exactly, they know the ballpark that all those players are going to be in line to get. And there's no urgency on their part to get those deals done. It's not, and again, it's weird because you're not hearing of, well, what you're hearing is no serious talks have happened at this point, which is surprising, is it not?
I mean, they didn't even speak to CD's agent at the combine, reportedly, right? Like that's the level of urgency that we're talking about here, and that's what's frustrating. And again, I think that I'm really upset and I'm really frustrated. I'm also willing to extend some grace because I think that we make a little bit too much out of the playoff losses. I understand that they're big and they're seismic and they're important, but this has been a really successful team over the course of the last 3 seasons. That's 1,000 days. I always use the rule of 1,000 days when it comes to 3 years. And it just so happens by poor coincidence that maybe their 3 worst days in a 1,000-day stretch were the 3 most important ones, right? And that's life. That's sports sometimes. So we shouldn't, throw the baby out with the bathwater, however you want to put it. They're a very functional, a very successful team, but they seem content with that. They seem content with where they're at. And so there's no logic here. I'm a very logic-based person. Okay, let's live in the moment. Let's be glass half full like Jason Minix, although not a glass of coffee as we've established. You think you're very good. You think what you're doing is worthwhile. You think what you're doing is working. You don't need to add talent, right? Okay, that would imply, we could infer that what you've got on the roster is worth keeping around then, right? It's because you don't need to add anything. Well, then why not pay the people who are on the roster? Well, there's not action anyway here. There's no reward. They're just taking everything and leaving everybody out in the cold.
Whether I get what you're saying, and we know the Cowboys love to say they like to draft and develop. And you look at the offensive line, and it feels like there's a lot of holes there. But we've been hearing about some of these young players, and
all they're doing is saying the names of the depth chart. Just because they can say, well, Brock Hoffman's on our team doesn't make me feel better about Brock Hoffman.
No, but at some point, kind of like Terrence Steele, after an awful day, there is development there. Richards, Waleska, we've been hearing about. I mean, you remember last year in Oxnard, Stephen Jones was just going on and on and on about Matt Waleska, and the next day he's hurt. And that's life in the NFL because, as Stephen says, man, they're always looking to improve the roster 365. I mean, that's what they do, right? But when I look at the inactivity in the contracts, and you talk about Dak has been a great regular season quarterback. Playoff Prescott sucks. And that's part of the problem. CeeDee Lamb last year in the playoffs had a couple of big drops early in that game. Wasn't ready for the moment. Dak will take all the criticism, all of it, right? And 2 interceptions doesn't help the playoff Prescott narrative. But his teammates weren't picking him up like a CeeDee Lamb, who's in line to become one of the highest paid receivers in the NFL when it mattered most. Collectively as a group, they all failed. And I look at like Mike McCarthy. He hasn't done anything to deserve getting fired, but he also hasn't had any playoff success that would deserve an extension.
Well, okay, but I recognize they're the owners and we can't get rid of them, but they're just as guilty of the same phenomenon you just described. Like, oh, they're great in the regular season. They're great at drafting. Like we can pick things that they're good at too, but we can isolate the most important things like the playoffs for Dak and CeeDee and McCarthy and say that they have failed there as well. That's again, and they're exempt to that because they write the checks. But that's what's frustrating is that that can't change that status quo.
Well, and again, I mean, if the Cowboys had a different owner, Jerry Jones, the GM, would have been fired in, 1990, put a year on it. But at the same time, and, Joe Reinagle says this all the time on the Blitz. How do you blame Jerry and Steven for last year's playoff loss? They put together a Super Bowl caliber roster last season. And the way things were unfolded, the deck was clear for the Cowboys to at least get to an NFC championship game. The roster was there. How do you blame ownership on what happened in Green Bay against Green Bay?
All right. Look, talking about the Cowboys has me upset. I want to talk about something that's going to bring me great joy, like the fact that the Stanley Cup playoffs begin this weekend. My team is in it.
Hockey.
None of Jason's are. We'll get into it. Don't go anywhere. Hockey talk happening next here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It's the 2024 NFL Draft on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
We're the 24th pick. The Dallas Cowboys select
April 25th, 26th, and 27th. Join 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star for this year's NFL Draft, live from Detroit.
I love the tenacity and the aggression with which he plays. He is a mauler.
Who do the Cowboys and Texans pick? Jerry goes number 1. And who's the next Mr. Irrelevant?
the Houston Texans select C.J. Stroud.
We don't ever want to pass on the guy you ought to be taking there, but still be position
I
select.
thought Sauce Gardner would be the first corner, but you go back to 2019, and that version of Derek Stingley is as good as anybody in this entire draft class.
Find out right here on your exclusive home for the NFL Draft. 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Drowning in IRS debt? If you can't afford to pay your IRS debt due to economic hardship, you can now be free of IRS collection efforts by taking advantage of a special IRS tax hardship program. This program allows Americans who owe the IRS to resolve their delinquent tax debt once and for all. In some cases, maybe even reducing what you owe significantly. An open phone line has been established by Community Tax for consumers to call and see if they qualify. Simply dial 800-785-9545. If you owe back taxes to the IRS and cannot afford to pay them back or have years of unfiled tax returns, help is standing by. Just call the Community Tax Helpline today at 800-785-9545 for the help that you need. Don't take on the IRS alone. They can attack impact your wages, savings, pension, home, and even your Social Security check. Call 800-785-9545 to see if you qualify. That's 800-785-9545.
It's the final days of Diamonds Direct Spring Sale. This is your last chance to get 20% off store-wide. Plus, book an appointment and you'll get an additional $100 off your purchase. You don't want to miss this. 20% off rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, and more. Tons of engagement rings on sale too. And a huge selection of the latest styles with in-store designer appearances. 20% off ends this Sunday. Details at diamondsdirect.com.
I like to be active, and as you get older, I know it because I am older. You're more prone to injury, and I could not get rid of the pain.
QC Kinetics patient Diane Richardson talking about how a hiking injury left her in awful pain.
No one wants to live in pain. I certainly don't want to live in pain. I don't have time for pain.
Diane had heard about regenerative medicine, so she called QC Kinetics and started treatment right away. And the results were incredible.
I couldn't believe it. I honestly was skeptical, but the pain went from a 10 to a 0.
QC Kinetics is the nation's leader in using natural biologics, healing properties from your own body to restore and repair damaged joint tissue. There's no surgery, no drugs, and no downtime.
The result was phenomenal. I mean, I was not feeling any pain. I'm able to do everything that I want to do.
If you have pain from arthritis or injury, this may be the solution you're looking for. Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation.
It was a game changer.
Call QC Kinetics, 210-571-0318. That's 210-571-0318. 210-571-0318.
Jason Minix here from the Blitz with the NBA playoffs here. You want to get in on the action and have fun watching the games the way I do? Make sure you download the Underdog Fantasy app and start playing their pick'em game, where you pick between 2 and 5 players to build a pick'em entry. Select higher or lower on player stats. If your picks hit, you could win up to 100 times your money. Endless projections to choose from. You create your own experience. It's a ton of fun to play. I love winning on the pick'em game, obviously. It is fantasy, but legal in Texas. So get signed up at UnderdogFantasy.com or download the Underdog Fantasy app. Use my promo code STAR when you sign up, and Underdog will match your first deposit up to $100. Plus, they'll give you a mystery special pick to use on your first pick'em entry. Must be over 18 and present in a state where Underdog Fantasy operates. Terms apply. Concerned with your play? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit ncpgambling.org. Again, promo code STAR when you sign up at UnderdogFantasy.com.
George gets justice. If you've been injured, get George, because George gets justice. With over 100 years of combined experience and a relentless dedication to your case, the attorneys at George Salinas Injury Lawyers will fight for what's right. If you've been injured and it's not your fault, get George and get the compensation you deserve. Call George Salinas Injury Lawyers today at 210-225-0909 or visit getgeorge.com. George gets justice. GetGeorge.com.
Good morning, everybody. Joe Reinagle here. Coming up on the Blitz, we are live at Taste of the North Side, one of the best Fiesta events there is. We're going to talk a lot of Cowboys football and some Texans as well, because we're only a week out of the NFL draft. I'm excited about that. Plus, we'll react to the basketball situation in the NBA, all the advances, and who's going to play whom. Hey, RJ, you like sausage on a stick, or maybe Wagyu Frito?
Who doesn't like sausage on a stick? One of the best snacks in the world, certainly this time of year.
Chicken on a stick. Yeah.
Sausage on a stick is the superior food on a stick. If we're just talking that general category.
I mean, all right. Wait, this is better than hockey talk. Your favorite Fiesta food. Now, typically speaking, yes, sausage on a stick at a fair, carnival, absolutely. During Fiesta, it's all about rating different events based on their chicken on a stick. And I think that is a fair, 100% accurate statement.
That's fine. I mean, again, relative to the context and relative to the moment, I'm cool with that. But the question that I was posed was, do you like sausage on a stick? And it is much better. But I will say, because, again, I'm with you here. Right now, chicken on a stick completely reigns supreme. But I don't know where I was. Actually, it was at Buc-ee's. Rob and I were talking about Buc-ee's the other day. And I don't like a sausage on a stick that's been wrapped in a tortilla. If you're going to wrap it in a tortilla, just hand it to me. I don't need the stick. You get what I'm saying? Putting it. But have you ever seen these at Buc-ee's? They're, you know what I'm saying? They wrap it in a tortilla and it's on a stick, the whole thing.
And then did they put the foil around it so you could take it out, or is it?
It's not foil. It's like saran wrap. But yes,
I don't understand the purpose of the tortilla on a sausage on a stick. I have not seen that. That seems a little odd to me. That seems excessive.
It's redundant because the tortilla would serve as the way to hold the sausage, the way the stick would. You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, but you got to keep in mind the idea of Buc-ee's. You know, what I love about Buc-ee's and what I hate about Buc-ee's is all there. I mean, the food at Buc-ee's generally is good. I'm not a big Buc-ee's guy. I don't have to stop every time I go like a lot of you people. But Buc-ee's is designed to get your food and get the hell out of there after you spend $1,000 at the gift store. There's no place to sit down and eat at Buc-ee's. So while giving you a sausage wrap on a stick with the tortilla makes it easier for you to eat while you're driving. But you still
eat it just fine without the stick. The stick
Well,
actually makes it more dangerous while driving.
Well, I mean, you get your toothpick when you're done. I don't know, but I would think if you're driving and it's on a stick, it's a little bit easier than maybe if you're holding it. Maybe that was the thought process. Maybe they feel like they could charge a little bit more by adding the tortilla because those things are really expensive.
Yeah,
It's just so we-
I mean, it was just fun.
Just so we can say we
And
did
sticks
have
are
some
fun, apparently.
some hockey talk. The Bruins
Dallas
against
Stars,
the Maple
baby.
Leafs. Oh, you're such a
Who?
bandwagoner.
What,
Such a
what do you mean?
bandwagoner.
Stop. I mean, yeah. Bruins against Maple Leafs. You want to go down that path?
I'm
I
just
mean,
saying,
you're
it's
gonna
nice
call
to
me
have
a
a team in the
bandwagoner.
playoffs.
I do have a team in the playoffs, the Dallas Stars. My main team, the New Jersey Devils, still in the rebuild process. That is very Spurs-like. They're getting closer. They were about a 500 team this year. They did not make the playoffs. The future is bright though for the New Jersey Devils. The Dallas Stars, though, they're the 1 seed, likely to get the Kings in the first round of the playoffs.
We'll see what happens, but the Stars are in quite the position. They exacerbate the position the Cowboys are in.
Here we go.
Well, no, but I mean, that's a worthy, hypothetical to consider, where the Rangers are reigning World Series champions, the Stars
Every
are Stanley Cup
DFW
champions.
sports team is ahead of the Cowboys.
Let's see. I'm looking at the Devils in the standings, by the way. 7
They're a game under 500, right?
in the wild card race. God, they are a game under
Devils have been
500. That's
eliminated.
true.
The Devils have been eliminated.
Hey, you beat out the Senators and the Canadians and the Blue Jackets.
None of that matters. None of that matters.
Wow.
Go Stars.
You mentioned the Spurs and their rebuild process. What can we learn from what we saw during Wednesday night's playing games? Did we see a future Spur on Wednesday night in Trae Young? Ooh.
No. No.
I think so. Let's get into it.
Good
On
Lord.
94.1, San Antonio Sports Stuff.
KTFM Floresville. This is 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star, your home for the Aggies.
Heart Royal Flush Tour 2024. May 1st, Frost Bank Center. A journey through the hits and timeless classics. The iconic band returns with special guest Cheap Trick. Tickets on sale now at heart-music.com. Don't miss 2 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. Heart with Cheap Trick live.
Gomez Law Firm has been taking care of the people of San Antonio for almost 50 years, the leader in personal injury law. Jose, tell us a little bit more about what you do.
We do ride-sharing cases, 18-wheeler cases. Obviously, we've done those for very many years. Work injuries. We will be happy to take a look at and see if we can help.
If you have been injured in an accident or hit by a company vehicle, then you need to visit joegomezlaw.com.
We've been around for almost 50 years, and we're not going anywhere.
Call the Gomez Law Firm at 736-4040.
Now streaming only on Disney Plus.
My name is Taylor. Welcome to the Eras Tour.
Experience Taylor Swift's record-breaking Eras Tour.
Does anyone here know the lyrics? Prove it!
Taylor Swift The Eras Tour, Taylor's version, with 4 additional acoustic songs. Now streaming only on Disney Plus.
Are you over 30 and putting off life insurance? It's time to get a quick quote from Ethos, a better, easier way to get term life insurance, all online with no medical exam. Answer a few health questions and you could be approved for up to $2 million. Isn't it worth 10 minutes to help protect your family's financial security? Ethos, up to $2 million in coverage with no medical exam. Some policies as low as $1 a day. Answer a few health questions and get your free quote at checkethos.com. That's checkethos.com.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-9313. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at tra.com or call 800-575-9313. That's 800-575-9313. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
94.1 FM. San Antonio's Sports Center.
In the NFL, Bill Belichick could be back on the sidelines next year. And if he is, the Dallas Cowboys are among the teams he's interested in coaching. The Miami Heat fell to the Philadelphia 76ers on Wednesday night in the play. And the Chicago Bulls got past the Atlanta Hawks. Trae Young now available if the Spurs want to talk. What's going to happen? We have all the answers here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Sports Center is brought to you by Buyers Barricades, the Texas Authority in Barricade Rental. BuyersBarricades.com.
Wembanyama three. Good! Goes behind the back here. Oh! Little sidestep and a jam by Wembanyama. Drive. Oh, it's knocked away by Wembanyama.
This is the Morning Huddle on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. With Rob Thompson and the managing editor of Blogging the Boys, RJ Ochoa. Now, here's Rob and RJ.
Good morning, good afternoon, and good night. It is the Morning Huddle here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. I am RJ Ochoa. He is Jason Minix, and I would bet he does not know what movie that is from. True or false?
No idea. What are you talking about?
You have no idea where good morning, good afternoon, and good night is from?
No.
Want to take a guess?
No.
Let's give us a guess. Just name a movie.
I got no idea.
Just name a movie. Any movie you've ever seen.
Help me out.
Jim Carrey's
Porky's Revenge.
At least you named a movie. The answer we were looking for was The Truman Show with Jim Carrey.
I would not have gotten that one. I have seen The Truman Show. I don't remember that one.
Yeah. Bit of an existential look at society and what we could or could not be living in.
And partly because we were talking about Porky's yesterday on the Blitz, I think it would be fitting to that phrase could work certainly from that movie as well.
I've never seen that, so I'm gonna leave that to you guys. You and Joe.
You have never seen the piece?
I have not, and I'm pretty at peace with that.
I think you should. At the very least, watch the original Porky's movie.
I will do that if you watch The Truman Show 10 times.
I don't know about 10 times, but I think you and Cammie should sit down on a good, Saturday night after the kids gone to bed and watch Porky's.
I'm gonna say no, but that's So
if you guys think that RJ should watch Porky's, you should tweet to him, flood the timeline, because that is one of those American classics that every good, solid man should watch.
Again, I'm going to pass, but, you can watch it for me. Okay, so 43 minutes. Okay. 22 points. 10 assists. Granted, all in a losing effort for Trae Young on Wednesday night in the play-in. Losing's actually putting it pretty mildly. The Hawks got blasted by the Bulls. This was never close. But Trae Young has some time on his hands. The Spurs are in need of a ball handler. an experienced ball handler, an all-star ball handler. Trae Young kind of checks those boxes.
No. Trae Young has been the sexy talk about who could be there as a guard in a trade since the All-Star break. Maybe before the All-Star break, but he and Wemby seem to be cozy during the All-Star break, and I think that has a lot of fans dreaming of what could be. I don't see it happening. Atlanta wants a whole lot in return. I don't see the Spurs paying that kind of price, and I do think there are better options. When you hear Greg Popovich, RJ, talk about not skipping steps, and you try to figure out what that means, and you read a quote in the Express News in an article written by Mike Finger, where he quotes Brian Wright as saying the Spurs are going to be strategically aggressive. That doesn't mean Trae Young. I don't want, as much as I want the Spurs to accelerate the rebuild, I don't want another season anywhere close to what we had this past year. I also don't want them going out and just making the first big deal that shows up on the table. Like Atlanta calls and says, all right, we're out. You guys want Trae? We'll send them right over. Give us this haul in return. I just don't see that happening. And that's not really the Spurs way, and I think there are other options. I do expect the Spurs to be, and I like the term strategically aggressive because we don't really know what that means. I mean, which means they're going to dip their toe in the water, and if all the stars align and it's the right price, then they'll get a deal. I mean, I do think we'll get some shooters that are going to come in free agency, but maybe not the biggest superstars that are out there, but some quality free agents that will come. I do expect them to make some sort of trade with it because everybody keeps reporting about the eye on the 25 draft, that Topic kid in the draft that seems to be linked a lot to San Antonio. Seems like he'd be a good fit. Everything there points to, yeah, that guy looks like a Spur. And my only concern on him, and I know nothing about him other than what I've read, he's injury prone. He's been injury prone as a teenager playing with men over there in the European leagues.
I think everything that you said is fair and rational and measured, cautious, maybe a little too cautious. But I understand wanting to be cautious, right? Like, because we're carrying something very, very special and very precarious here. But let me just pose a hypothetical. Forget my take, my opinion on Trae Young, because we've all talked, and Wemby himself has said, yeah, I mean, he's been humble about it, but like, yeah, I'm kind of involved. If Wemby wanted Trae Young, does that change your mind? If Wemby said, that's what I want, just live in that hypothetical for a moment. Is that opinion, his opinion, enough to say, you know what? I know I just said everything that I just did, but we go with you. You said yes. It's your seal of approval. That's what you want. So be it.
I think the answer is still no, to be quite honest. Partly because I've been around the Spurs organization too long. I believe that they will consult with Wemby on what he would like. But I don't know that Wemby would demand, get me this guy or nothing. And but again, I think now if the price was a little bit different, I think that's a game changer, right? But at the same time, to answer your question with yes or no, which is what you asked, I would say no. If he said, hey, go get me Trae Young, they're not going to say, all right, man, we're going to do everything we can and overpay and do all this kind of stuff. I just don't see that happening. At the same time, I do think Wemby's involvement will be crucial, and he will be a part of the discussion, but so will Pop, RC, the coaching staff, the analytics dudes, the doctors. All of that is going to factor in to what the Spurs do this offseason. But I don't know that he would demand that being the case. And if he did, I don't know if they would say, well, okay. And I'll use the example Mike Finger used in the San Antonio Express News. Look at Dallas a few years ago. Luka was a rookie. Right. They went and they traded for Porzingis, and that was the best they could do at the time. It's a superstar. We're going to pair him, and we're going to go win titles. And it exploded. I don't see the Spurs making that same kind of mistake. And I've been saying that for a while, but I appreciate the example that Finger used in his article. And I think Trae Young would fall into the Porzingis type of equation with, especially just watching last night. If you are in on Trae Young and you watch last night's game, you've got a foot halfway out the door at this point this morning. He was not good last night, and he was not Spurs-like last night. And the turnovers with him and Wemby would be awful.
So the Porzingis example that you mentioned is sound, especially because, I mean, if you look at Porzingis specifically and individually, it wasn't a matter of like, oh, you traded for a player that wasn't great. The situation wasn't great. Like, that was the whole kind of point of the exercise, right? You look at Porzingis now and you're like, man, that dude would be awesome. And what he pointed out in the article you're talking about is not only did the Porzingis experiment not work out for Dallas, but the whole process kind of lost them Jalen Brunson. I mean, don't you think the Mavs are thinking like, man, that would be nice to have Jalen Brunson around right now. Now, granted, I think what's mentioned or should be mentioned, and it was, the Mavs still figured it out and still brought in Kyrie. They kept swinging, and we'll see obviously how that winds up working out for them, here this year in the playoffs. But, they landed on their feet is kind of the point. Like, if you keep, I don't mean to keep coming back to this, but it's very Philadelphia Eagles like, right? Like, very like, okay, how do we think ourselves out of this? How do we keep going? How do we keep buying? And some of that is continually pushing the credit down the road. But if you can get out of pickles, then, that's the mark of aggressive teams that are forward thinking. And I'm not saying the Spurs aren't that, but slow playing, it doesn't have 100% track record of success. That's all.
No,
and fine.
And I don't want to slow play. Last year, and I see Josh on the YouTube channel saying, remember last year they didn't want to overpay for Dame Lillard. I wanted Dame Lillard last year. And I thought, man, we're adding Wemby. Let's get Dame. Let's go. The Spurs wanted to see what Wemby needed as a pro. What were they really getting? And Wemby exceeded the extremely high expectations. He is ready to win now. Coming in, rookie year, if you wanted to be cautious, which the Spurs took that approach by just adding Wemby to what they basically had the year before to see what they really had. And, draft night, maybe the first couple of weeks of training camp, they're getting to know him. They might have thought, well, he's 19. It might take 2 or 3 years before he is really ready to win. After what we saw this rookie year for him, he's ready to win now. We don't need to wait 3 years.
Well, and so for me, Trae Young is about the carrot. I really care. Trae Young is the name that I've assigned to it. And to be clear, my chips are in the Trae Young basket. That's the player I want the most. But I can be convinced, I can jump on your bandwagon if you've got one. If there's not another all-star on this team, or a all-star, because Wemby wasn't one, you know what I'm saying? Like, if there's not an all-star on this roster by the beginning of next season, then something has gone awry. Like, you cannot slow play. You can't. You're right. I mean, I still think it was a little bit, shy to say, let's just see how he is. Let's see if all these rumors are true. But there was some wisdom behind that. And fine. Okay, you did that. You burned a year. He completely and totally over-delivered on all expectations. You have to start running. You have to. You cannot sit by and just chill and be on cruise control here. You have to be way more aggressive. Maybe that aggression isn't best channeled with the specific player that Trae Young is or isn't at this point in his career. But you have to go get him some help. You cannot just run this back with Keldon and Devin and Jeremy and act like everything's going to be fine and everything's going to be copacetic because you want it to be.
I will be. I'd like to say a lot of words that I can't say on radio. If the Spurs run it back with this group next year and with whatever they do in the draft, I don't expect that. I don't necessarily know, though, that I have to have in Sharpie, they have to get an all-star on this team. You can build a team and develop them into all-stars. It might be an aging veteran. I mean, look at last year's all-star roster, and one, who's available, and two, which one of those guys that were an all-star last year that you say we have to go get that is going to be a good fit with Wemby and this Spurs team. I wouldn't be surprised, to be quite honest with you, RJ. And while you're stuck on Trae Young, give me a list of 4 or 5 other guys that you are taking Trae Young over, or who would you rather have besides Trae Young? But I wouldn't be surprised if 50, 60, 75% of this roster is turned over. When I look at this Spurs team, and I like the way Devin Vassell played February on. I don't like what Devin Vassell did in the calendar year 2023 with Wemby. Once Devin realized, all right, this Wemby guy's pretty good, he's the number one option, Devin Vassell's game changed. But as Devin Vassell, and it took him a long time to expect he was no longer option one, if you bring in an all-star, how long will it take Devin to realize he's option three? Kevin, when I look at the idea, okay, you got Vassell, and I want him. I don't want him gone. Don't as I say this, I want to be clear.
He's earned a place. I'm with you.
But if I'm also making a trade, unless I'm dealing with a team that is trying to dump salary, if I'm making a trade and I'm on the other end of the phone with the Spurs, Devin Vassell's the first guy I want. Am I willing to part with Devin Vassell to get that all-star? My answer is yes, I am. So bye, Devin. Thanks for your service. Keldon Johnson, same thing. So when you look at some of the star players and I say star for San Antonio players, all of them not named Wemby can go if we're getting something better in return. And it wouldn't be hard to get something better in return for those guys.
I agree with that idea completely. I mean, the expression that's often used is don't let good be the enemy of great. And you're right. Ever since the fiasco against New Orleans where Devin took the final shot of the game, it felt like that was that was the kind of moment for him where he was like, maybe Wemby should do this. Like maybe I shouldn't be the guy in these moments. And you know,
it was in that moment. But you remember that photo that leaked out of Spurs practice right after the All-Star break? It was like a PowerPoint.
The rules or the creed or whatever.
Yeah. And it was know your role. And I just felt like, my goodness, this is all about Devin Vassell. It applies to everybody. But Devin, if you follow these, we'll be pretty good. And if you look at the way the Spurs played down the stretch, especially Devin Vassell, and Devin Vassell played as if he wants to be back and played for his job, and he's earned it. At the same time, if the Spurs need to part ways with Devin in a trade to get a all-star in return, then that's what's going to have to happen. And again, this roster down the stretch, they were fun to watch. They were fun to watch when games didn't matter. When it didn't matter anymore, it was fun to watch. And those wins down the stretch, while glorious, they took you out of the top three in the lottery. So your chances of getting another number one overall pick or whatever went from like 14% to 10%. But which doesn't really matter. Well, it does. But, but they were fun to watch. They made a lot of Spurs fans that at least interact with the Blitz say, well, man, we can't get rid of Devin now. We can't get rid of Keldon now. Yeah, yes, you can. If you want to be better, you want to be in the play-in next year or the actual playoffs, some of those guys might have to go because there are better players out there that might be better fits with Victor.
You have to make decisions when you're not emotionally compromised. And you're right. The Wemby-less win against Phoenix, the win over the Knicks, the win over the Nuggets, all those fun times down the stretch, getting past 20, taking yourselves out of the history books for all the wrong reasons. Those were all great times. We all high-fived. We all cheersed. We, town and honk our horns or get free coffee or anything like that. But it was fun, and we'll always have those memories. But we're now emotionally compromised. The way we felt prior to all that stuff was anybody not named Wemby is completely and totally accessible. You want to call us up? You want to hit our phone up? You want anybody on this roster not named Wemby? Fine, let's talk. Like you haven't said those words explicitly, so I don't want to put words in your mouth, but it seems like you agree. Like, I know some people would say, no, I want to keep Devin. Why? And I don't say that as any kind of slight against Devin. Like, the point is, you're still working this roster over. There should be nothing there should be nothing you're not willing to do, except for obviously move Wemby.
Exactly. And I've said it on the Blitz, and I'll be clear here on the Morning Huddle. The idea of anybody guaranteeing themselves, the only untouchable is Wemby. Everybody else can go.
Has a price.
I'm not saying that I want to get rid of everybody else. But if I've got to part ways with some of those guys, then they're gone. I would say number 2 on the list, if I were to create an untouchable list in order, right? It's Wemby, and he's on there.
Right.
I really think Trey Jones will be a fantastic backup point guard for the Spurs. I love his basketball IQ, how he worked with Wemby. You saw Wemby's game drastically improve when he took over as point guard. Now, is that because Trey Jones is that good, or because Jeremy Sohan experiment at point guard was that bad? And I think there's a combination there, but I think Trey Jones and what he offers, he'll be a great backup to whoever comes in. So I would say it might be harder to part ways with him than Devin.
Yeah. The value he represents for his spot on the team it feels larger, like a larger potential return on investment for what you have to do, from like how many minutes you have to give him and things like that. And it does feel safe. It feels like, well, nobody's going to ask for Trey Jones. You know what I'm saying? Like they'll ask for Devin, and we've already made our peace with that. I like this question in the Brigade Bar from Money Paradox. Says, would any of these all-star players want to come over and take a step back because it's Wemby's team? We'll call that the Devin Vassell experience, so to speak. I think that as it relates to, let's just use Trae Young as an example. Trey's been through it, man. Like I think for some people, some players, it's probably a breath of fresh air to go somewhere and have some help. You know, Trae Young, I don't think would be upset about the idea of coming to San Antonio and having somebody to kind of take a big chunk off of his plate, and he can just be free and play in a way that he hasn't been able to in a very long time.
I think there are certain players that would not want to take that role. I think there are others that understand it takes 2 or 3 to win. If a Kevin Durant can go into Golden State with an established Steph Curry and an established Draymond Green and Klay Thompson and go win some titles. Now, granted, that didn't last very long. I get that. You look at Anthony Davis going over to the Lakers with LeBron. There are a lot of examples out there where superstars have come together and they've made it work. I think when you get on the playground, you understand who is the guy and you understand your role, and you got to check your ego at the door. And we know one of the things that you have to do to play for the Spurs, listen to Greg Popovich, you've got to be over yourself. You know, I think there are guys out there that if the Spurs are talking to them, they're going to be over themselves. If you're not, it's not going to work. And I kind of bring that back to what, the strategically aggressive. They're going to go make deals with guys that are going to be good fits, not just the first call that comes in or maybe the biggest name. So I think that is something that would evaluate. Are there some guys, to answer the question, that wouldn't want to come here because of that? Yeah, probably. But hell, before Wemby's rookie season, all the reports were that Dame was interested in coming to San Antonio to play with Wemby. We're talking about a Dame Lillard who at one point in his career had problems getting along with LaMarcus Aldridge.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, granted, this is from an opposition standpoint, but any story, any think piece that's been done this season about Wemby that's involved player quotes, from teams that the Spurs played whenever it happened was always words of extreme admiration and extreme just like shock and awe, extreme like, man, this is crazy. Like this league's going to be his. Like, I don't know how you wouldn't want a piece of that. And I think as players age and they experience more and more disappointment, it becomes easier and easier to accept whatever you want to call this, like a lesser role, a smaller role, a diminished role. But the good news, if you're looking for those, is there's a lot more of those dudes than there are, and want the stage all to themselves.
Well, and I think also as some of those players get a little bit older and they've got a lot left in the gas tank, they realize at this point in their careers, if they don't have one, how difficult it is to win an NBA championship. And staying with Dame Lillard, who all the reports said he was interested last year in coming to San Antonio, and I thought that would have been awesome. He ends up in Milwaukee. I mean, you got Giannis, you're taking the back seat there. Dame's willing to do that. Thought he was going to a team that had a chance to compete for a championship. And hell, they still might, although the way this team has played since they brought in Doc Rivers, I don't know. I mean, you look at the teams in the East and who do you trust? But to that point, guys will take that step back in a lesser role because it is Wemby.
Last night or yesterday on the show, I told Rob, I said, there's some incentive for us to root for Chicago here, right? To get Trae Young, get his season done with as soon as possible, right? And that was kind of a funny joke. But in a different way, do you think there's even the most remote incentive towards rooting for the Bucks, so that Project Dame can be proven to be fruitful, right? So that if you're in that situation yourself in your own version of Portland, I mean, to look at, especially with, Milwaukee's regarded as a flyover town, whatever, small market, blah, 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 to look at it and say, hey, there's proof positive here. Look at what Dame just did. Dame joined Giannis again, right? The circumstances right now don't lend to that, like at this specific moment. But if it works out for Dame and the Bucks, I think that opens the door wider if it isn't open enough because of Wemby himself individually.
I think you can spin whatever argument you want, find an example that's going to work for however you're going to try to spin that or not. Maybe. I mean, the idea of improving the roster, and when you look at what Wemby did this year, Wemby's, the idea 3 months ago that he would be in the legit conversation for Defensive Player of the Year as a rookie. I mean, Rookie of the Year is easy. And I've maintained, I don't know that if I had a vote that I would vote for Wemby for Defensive Player of the Year, because you look at an award like that, even though it's an individual award, your team sucked. You won 22 games. You don't get a trophy other than Rookie of the Year. But when I see all the people that are putting Wemby on the ballot because it is individual and his play were those wow moments. I mean, we had wow moments this year from Wemby like we used to get on a regular basis from Manu. I still don't think he wins the award, but he might finish second, which I still think is impressive for a guy that played on a team that won 22 games.
I don't think he's Defensive Player of the Year. I think it's a fun and interesting and different kind of argument than most candidates offer on a year-to-year basis. But like I'm not upset that he's like, there are some people who are like rioting in the streets. Like, how could you not give him Defensive Player of the Year? It makes sense.
I mean, your team won 22 games, and I think go win a bunch of them, because then it's going to end up being like, LeBron could have been MVP 10 years in a row. Kobe, right. MVP. So who's the MVP not named, or the Defensive Player of the Year not named Wemby? Because we're going to get to that point. He deserves to be in the conversation for sure. He might deserve to win it. He's not going to win it because the Spurs sucked this year.
A similar person who could or should have won their individual, I guess, places award year in and year out. Bill Belichick. You can make an argument should have been Coach of the Year every single year that he was heading the New England Patriots. Who will he be heading in the future? Well, seems the Dallas Cowboys are an option, which means we are in for quite an annoying year. And that all starts next here on the Morning Huddle. Don't go anywhere or Jason will scream.
San Antonio's Sports Star.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% personal. And at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit. hims.com/joy.
Gomez Law Firm has been taking care of the people of San Antonio for almost 50 years, the leader in personal injury law. Jose, tell us a little bit more about what you do.
We do ride-sharing cases, 18-wheeler cases. Obviously, we've done those for very many years. Work injuries. We will be happy to take a look at and see if we can help.
If you have been injured in an accident or hit by a company vehicle, then you need to visit joegomezlaw.com.
We've been around for almost 50 years, and we're not going anywhere.
Call the Gomez Law Firm at 736-4040.
Buyers Barricades is proud to provide traffic control, rental, and sales for work zones and events in the San Antonio area and beyond. Buyers Barricades, the Texas authority in barricade rental. Learn more online at buyersbarricades.com. That's buyersbarricades.com.
I'm still going for it, even with higher stroke risk from atrial fibrillation and a regular heartbeat not caused by a heart valve problem. Over a 3-year study, Eliquis apixaban tablets reduced stroke risk better than warfarin, and over 97% of Eliquis patients did not experience a stroke. A first stroke occurred in 2.9% of warfarin patients versus 2.3% of Eliquis patients.
Don't stop taking prescription Eliquis without asking your doctor. It may increase your stroke risk. Eliquis can cause serious and in rare cases fatal bleeding. Don't take Eliquis if you have an artificial heart valve, abnormal bleeding, or antiphospholipid syndrome. While taking, you may bruise more easily or take longer for bleeding to stop. A spinal injection while on Eliquis increases risk of blood clots, which may cause paralysis, the inability to move. Get medical help right away for unexpected bleeding, unusual bruising, or tingling, numbness, or muscle weakness. Medications such as aspirin products, NSAIDs, SSRIs, SNRIs, and blood thinners may increase bleeding risk. Tell your doctor about all planned medical or dental procedures. Learn more at Eliquis.com or call 1-855-ELIQUIS.
San Antonio's sports star. You're riding with Rob and RJ. This is the Morning Huddle.
Bill Belichick was ousted by the New England Patriots. Robert Kraft allegedly ordered the code red with the Atlanta Falcons, said, "Don't you hire him." Well, Jerry Jones, Jason, is a bit more of a maverick, and next year could be in need of a new head coach. And with the greatest of all time available, that could make things very interesting. And if they're not going to be very interesting, they're at least going to seem that way for an entire year.
Well, the Cowboys are always interesting regardless. I thought that article yesterday from ESPN was interesting. And when you look at who wrote it, Jeremy Fowler and Don Van Etta, the credibility of the investigative reporting is there. So I believe the reporting. I couldn't believe some of what I was reading, but I certainly believe the reporting. That said, Bill Belichick will not be the coach of the Dallas Cowboys next year. I just don't see it. I also found it interesting that the day that article hit ESPN.com, Belichick is all over ESPN television talking about joining the Pat McAfee show, and McAfee and all that. Nobody asked him about the article. But I also don't like a coach talking about jobs that he's interested in when those jobs are currently filled. That seems to break the code of coaching, the bro code, if you will. And he will be, wherever he goes, and this would have been the case in Atlanta, a short-term solution. He's not a 10-year coach at this point in his career, and it's not like Bill Belichick has a great history of developing young assistants that go on and do great things.
So I agree that Belichick's obviously not a 10-year plan right now. I agree that there is a bit of a code. I don't know that Belichick broke it. This was you mentioned the author Seth Wickersham was also on the byline here. So this is the usual deep dive, here's all the drama, right? This is very different, or was very different than when Sean Payton was dropping breadcrumbs. That Sean broke the code. I'm still not ready and willing to say that Bill's doing that quite yet. So that part's a little bit different already to me. But you're right, he's not completely innocent here. And the whole thing did feel incredibly calculated. And he's also set to join Omaha Productions, which is a partner of ESPN. I mean, it is a little bit fishy the way all of this is intermingled and interconnected. But that doesn't change the potential truth of it all either.
Well, and again, and real quick on the Sean Payton breaking the code, Sean said it. This was friends of Bill Belichick. Right. But Bill Belichick and Greg Popovich, CIA pop, Belichick, those close to Bill Belichick, I don't think they're saying things like that without Belichick encouraging. Sure. Hey, Bill, I just got a call from Seth. He wants to sit down and Oh yeah, tell them the Giants, the Eagles, and the Cowboys. Boy, me and Jerry get along great, man. That's where I really see myself next year. Mike's on a 1-year deal. They haven't done anything this offseason. That job's going to be open in October, and I'm going to have it.
Well, to that point, Nick Sirianni's not necessarily on a cold seat in Philadelphia with how the Eagles collapsed last year. And the Giants thing, he has a long-rooted history with the organization. Obviously, I mean, many people have speculated that for years. And he just so happened to pick 3 of the biggest media markets in the NFL as well that happen to be division rivals with one another.
Well, and again, all 3 jobs could be open next year, right? And I could see that. I mean, I think you and I could have had a conversation and said, what are the 3 most likely jobs to be open next year that Belichick would be interested in, and come up with that same thing. But to have a friend of Bill say it just feels a little dirty, feels a little, you broke a code. Now, that said, the one quote that really stood out to me, if Bill is going to be a head coach in the NFL again, it's going to be with Jerry. And, it's like, if you're driving, you hit that cement wall there on 281. No, that's not going to, it can't happen.
If it did, or if it was possible, right? If he truly like just set the variables up. If he entered the coaching cycle again, if the Cowboys moved on from Mike McCarthy, so if he was looking and they were ready, would you want it? This is different than Lincoln Riley or Sean Payton, where they just were both never single at the same time, so to speak, right? If they were and they were eyeing each other from across the dance floor, are you putting on the right song? By the way, on the subject of songs, this is a really quick tangent. For the first time ever in my life, yesterday I heard the song I heard the Phil Collins version. What is it called? You Can't Hurry Love. You know what I'm talking about? I had never heard that song before yesterday, and it's delightful. So. But anyway,
nice.
If they were both single, would you want them to mingle?
No, I really don't. Excuse me. 10 years ago, Bill Belichick, maybe. But now I know that a lot of people look at a Bobby Slowick or Ben up in Detroit, all these young. I don't see Jerry going that route either. I don't see Jerry taking a hot young coordinator and giving them a head coaching job for the first time and having them be in charge of the Dallas Cowboys. The Dallas Cowboys are a different machine when it comes to that, but also that's not Jerry's MO. So I don't see that happening. But an experienced coach not named Bill Belichick would be more likely. I would think that at this point, if Mike McCarthy gets fired, Mike Zimmer might have a better chance of becoming head coach of the Dallas Cowboys than Bill Belichick.
That's the worst thing I've ever heard said out loud.
It really isn't. And the reason you react that way is because it's true. And sometimes the truth hurts, no matter how much you don't want to believe it.
We forget that if they really loved Mike Zimmer, why is he on a 1-year deal? I mean, if they really loved Mike Zimmer, if they really thought that he could be the long-term answer, why is he on a 1-year deal?
I think a big part of that, to be honest, Mike Zimmer is very comfortable with where he's at in life right now. And how bad would it look if your defensive coordinator had a longer contract than your head coach? And Mike Zimmer, his relationship with the Jones family, with the Dallas Cowboys, hey, man, don't give me a 3-year deal or a 4-year deal because Mike doesn't have that.
That's dumb. There's no way that's true.
Well, I mean, and I could see Jerry saying, we're going to give you a 1-year deal. Things go well. This is what we're going to do. But I do think it has to do with I'm not giving the assistant a longer deal than the head coach. Mike McCarthy has done nothing to deserve to get fired, but he also hasn't done anything in the playoffs to deserve an extension.
Again, if they really, really, really believed in Mike Zimmer and they really thought this is our future head coach, why give him a 1-year deal? Why let him wander in the wind as long as they did? I mean, that would just, I don't buy that. I think I've said this when we were at the Super Bowl and the interview happened and they brought him in. We were sitting in it wasn't the Airbnb, the Verbo, whatever. Mike Zimmer was cool with jumping on a sinking ship because he's a friend of theirs. He, like you're saying, he was comfortable enough to say, I'll go to work for a year. You know what I mean? I'm good. That's it. That's my take on Mike Zimmer.
I think if you go back into the audio vault at sasportstar.com, powered by AA Best Bail Bonds, and go find the Christy Scales interview where she's talking about the relationship that the Cowboys have with Mike Zimmer. Go listen to Andrew Sandejo, who played for Mike up in Minnesota. Everything going on in Mike's personal life since he's been the head coach. Tragic. One-year deal in a setting where people, you're comfortable, but I still think one of the knocks when Dan Quinn left for Dallas, one of the talking points was all the different candidates that they were wanting to interview. One of the talking points was they were all going to have a longer contract than Mike McCarthy if he doesn't get an extension, and how bad that would be for the Dallas Cowboys. And Mike was willing to agree to a one-year deal, so it's in line with the head coach. They either all get fired or they all get extended. And I think Mike is comfortable enough with the Jones family to be able to do that. I think that is fair, and that is probably pretty damn accurate.
I think that's affording a very large benefit of the doubt. And it's a very large assumption to make, to assume that everything is that cool and everything's that copacetic and everything's that hunky-dory and everybody's just fine with each other. And we don't need to worry about paying me and you owe me and I owe you, and we'll be fine. We'll be good.
You're making pretty large assumptions yourself that he's just willing to jump on a sinking ship because it's a paycheck for a year.
I think that's an equally likely thing, though. I mean,
equally likely, that's a fancy-ass way of saying an assumption. It's a disagreement from your perspective, but don't kind of crap on mine, because I tell you, you understand coaches and how they work, and you're around them a lot. The idea of going into a system, was he the best candidate? But he was willing to take a one-year deal. Think about all the things that Coach Ryan was saying on television when he was campaigning on television for the job. But one of the knocks was a one-year deal, because I really think that Jerry Jones was, Mike, you haven't done enough for an extension. But without an extension, how bad does it look if your coordinator has a longer deal than you do, especially a coordinator that could easily replace you as the head coach?
Who cares what it looks like if you're the team and you're the one writing the check? I mean, if Zimmer is really that valuable to you, if he's truly that valuable and he proves that value the way it's expected, or the way they're expecting at least this season, why risk losing him? Why risk him, getting an offer from somebody else?
He's been on the beach for a couple of years. What's the risk? I mean, honestly, it's not like he was in high demand.
So, I mean, then if he's been on a beach, why are you suddenly so desperate for him and his services if he's that great?
Well,
this is a circular argument where there's no answer to this.
But
I mean, he's a guy that wasn't in demand. He's a family friend. I mean, I don't believe in the Mike Zimmer hire. I think it was a very convenient thing for everyone involved, including the fact that he was willing to take a one-year deal. But I certainly don't think he has a better chance of being their head coach over Bill Belichick next year.
The one-year deal, I think, really plays in to him getting the job versus another candidate that might have been, I don't want to say better, but a different candidate that wanted a 2, 3, 4-year kind of contract, but also not in demand. He wasn't actively looking either after suffering some very significant losses to family members in his life. Mike Zimmer didn't need to be coaching while he was on the beach. And that's one of the reasons why he wasn't in high demand. It's not because he wasn't in demand because he sucks at his job.
No, well, it did. The wheels fell off at the end of Minnesota from a football only perspective. But you're right. He had a lot of success, certainly on the defensive side of the ball, which is his thing. I'm not of the mindset that Mike Zimmer is this savior for the football team. I certainly am not willing to say he's more likely to be their head coach in 2025 than if the decision, especially because Zimmer is on a one-year deal, if I have to put any kind of motivation behind putting Zimmer on a one-year deal, it's to keep all options open. And you're fine if you want to say, oh, he's cool enough that if we go back to the table with him, he'll be more likely to take another contract with us. Fine. But if the conversation is between Zimmer and Bill Belichick, then it's not. I'm not pumped about the Bill Belichick thing, to be very clear here, but it's not a conversation in terms of which one of the two I prefer. I think the 1 year deal thing, they just want everybody on one. I mean, or they're too, whatever you want to call it, to consider any kind of other work or any kind of other option. Zimmer's on a 1 year deal. McCarthy's on the final year of his deal. Dak Prescott's currently on the final year of his deal. CeeDee Lamb's currently on the final year of his deal. Royce Freeman got a 1 year deal. Eric Kendricks got a 1 year deal. Who are they showing an interest in the future towards right now?
Well, first off, CD's not necessarily on a 1 year deal because they can.
He's in the final year of his current deal. That's what I said.
Well, no, you said 1 year, but he is in the final year of his current deal where they have options with franchise tags. So realistically, they could have CD tied up for a number of years. Last year, the Houston Texans went out and they signed a bunch of guys to 1 year deals, and everybody credited them for, putting together a roster with a bunch of prove it type contracts. Why do you not give the Cowboys the same kind of credit then for saying, all right, everybody's on a prove it kind of deal. Let's see what happens.
It's a mess. This whole thing. A mess.
You're making comparisons. You're crapping on the Cowboys for having everybody on a 1 year prove it situation. Last year, you credited the Houston Texans for bringing in a bunch of veteran players on 1 year prove it deals.
The Texans were in a wildly different situation a year ago where they were coming off of a culture that was completely questioned by everybody in the NFL versus, and to their credit, to that, I guess my point, they come way over delivered on expectations and now have realized, you know what, we have to adjust. Now that we're considered contenders, we cannot do the 1 year deal thing anymore. Now we have to be more serious about it. They recognize the reality of the situation they're in. The Cowboys were and have been in the situation the Texans now find themselves, yet they're still operating like a team who is coming off of the worst culture in the NFL. So I'm not going to credit them. The context involved is completely different. So,
I mean, the context, but the philosophy is there. And the reality is right now in RJ Ochoa's world, and I've known you a long time, RJ, everything Jerry does is wrong. If you're having dinner with Jerry Jones right now, you would be annoyed that he chewed loud and tapped the table and probably doodles on the cloth napkin. Jerry, in your mind right now, can't do a damn thing right. If he would have signed a coordinator, whether it was Mike Zimmer or whoever you wanted, to a 4 year deal, you would be mad that Mike McCarthy's only got a 1 year deal and his coordinator has a 4 year deal. Everything right now that Jerry Jones, including breathing, is wrong in your world. That's the perception. That's my takeaway listening to you.
The candidates who they interviewed or they took seriously were Ron Rivera, Rex Ryan, and Mike Zimmer. I mean, I don't think holding them to a standard is, I don't have an issue with breathing or anything like that. I expect them to be functional at their jobs, which they haven't showed an ability or at least a willingness to be in a very long time. But Caitlin Clark, are you going to get her shoes? Are you going to get her shoes or not?
No.
Don't answer. But whether you are or aren't, the fact that you're going to have a choice and an ability to do so is very, very, very cool. We'll get into that on the other side of the break here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It's The Blitz with Jason and Joe. Afternoons at 2.
Coming up on The Blitz, it is going to be a special Thursday because The Blitz is live at the Taste of the North Side.
Yeah, a week away from the NFL draft, the latest on what the Cowboys and Texans might be doing. Plus, we'll react to the NBA play-in games from last night. The Blitz live at Taste of the North Side. We start at 2.
The Blitz with Jason and Joe. Afternoons at 2 on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Connecticut water softeners have been around San Antonio for a long time. Heck, I've had one for so long, I don't even remember what else I had. I don't know what I'm missing or what I don't have because I got all I need with a Connecticut. My pipes are clean. My hair is soft. Everything goes great down the gullet. It's good water. Let me tell you, if you don't have a Connecticut, you're kind of missing out because it's not what's coming out of the faucet. It's what's being left behind in your pipes. And if you got stuff left behind in your pipe, it's showing up on your skin, on your dishes coming out of the dishwasher. You know what I'm talking about, that white powdery stuff. Connecticut customers, man, we don't have to worry about that because I've got the last water softener I'm ever going to own. You want to find out what I got? You dial 656-PURE today. The Knippas will head out and send a Connecticut water softener to your home free of charge for 90 days. Find out what I'm talking about. And on that 91st day, you're going to do what I am, and you're going to be a Connecticut customer for life. Check out the warranty, apples to apples. There's nothing better. 656 Pure. Get them out today. ConnecticutSA.com for all the details. Get yourself a Connecticut. Put it in your home. I know you're going to be thanking me later.
Train heating and cooling systems are tested, retested, engineered, and re-engineered to keep up with you. We run together. Visit traininfo.com to find your local independent train dealer. Traininfo.com. It's hard to stop a train.
Cashback is not available on gas in New Jersey and Wisconsin.
$5,000. That's the average amount of money people in the U.S. are now spending on gas in a year. $5,000. That's crazy. If you drive, you have to download Upside, the free app that gives you cash back every time you get gas. That's right. You can earn real cash back with Upside just by buying the gas you're already buying. You can literally start earning cash back today.
I use Upside every time I fill up, and I've already made around $200-$300.
You're putting gas in your car anyway. Why not get real cash back? If you like free money, download Upside.
I'm saving the cash I earn from using Upside to help pay for a vacation later this year.
Download the free Upside app now to earn cash back every time you buy gas. Use promo code YEAR to get an extra 25 cents per gallon on your first tank. You can cash out anytime right to your bank, PayPal, or a gift card for Amazon and other brands. Just download the free Upside app and use promo code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus on your first tank. That's code YEAR for a 25 cents per gallon bonus.
If you get arrested, get out of jail fast by calling AA Best Bail Bonds, 210-225-2121. Text bail to 474747 or online at mybestbailbonds.com. You don't have to call attorneys or anybody else. Don't be forced into a PR bond. If the jail offers you one, make sure you understand the conditions before accepting it. AA Best Bail Bonds. Nobody beats their price. They have payment plans. Call 210-225-2121 or mybestbailbonds.com.
License number 149.
I love a beautiful lawn. I hate doing lawn care. That's why I use True Green. They're the official lawn treatment provider of the PGA Tour. We all know those are some nice greens. So just imagine what they could do to your lawn. All you have to do is water and mow. And to top it off, when you sign up for an annual plan by April 20th, get one application free. Visit TrueGreen.com for the best lawn at the best price, guaranteed. Restrictions apply.
Individuals and businesses with tax problems, listen carefully. If you owe over $10,000 in back taxes or have unfiled tax returns, U.S. Tax Shield can help you take back control. The IRS can seize your bank accounts, garnish your paycheck, close your business, and file criminal charges. Our team of tax attorneys can stop collections and get you protected. U.S. Tax Shield offers a price protection guaranteed quote to get you protected today. U.S. Tax Shield is A+ rated with the BBB, so call 800-494-6139. U.S. Tax Shield, 800-494-6139.
Howdy, San Antonio. This is Andrew Monaco, and you're locked on the home of the Aggies, 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
What should Caitlin Clark's shoes be called? Right now, marketing meeting at Nike. Name them.
CC's.
That's not bad.
CC22.
Maybe there's like a play on like a double, like the double C, double two, something like that. Would it be cooler if they had something to do with fever?
They'd be sick.
I mean, I don't think that would be wise for her though. Individually.
The marketing line, these shoes are sick. Get the fever, right? I could see something along those lines.
Do you think this is still a moment, or do you think that there's some staying power here with Caitlin?
There is staying power with Caitlin Clark. She obviously is going to have to go in there and play extremely well and really take over the league. But she's got the ability to, and I think this entire rookie class for the WNBA, because there are such big personalities, stars that are going into that league at star level. The WNBA doesn't have to try to develop these players as superstars. Angel Reese shows up as a star. Caitlin Clark is showing up as a star. And to a degree, the WNBA really hasn't had that before. They've had a lot of big-name players going into the league, but not star players where everybody in the nation knows who they are. They're doing the national talk show circuit. Caitlin Clark was brilliant the other night on Saturday Night Live. She has that ability to move the needle.
She was on SNL. She was on Good Morning America this week after going #1 overall. She and Bill Belichick have something in common in that she was on Pat McAfee yesterday, and she made a joke on her own yesterday, not on SNL, but she did, but on McAfee, and said, "Yeah, I'm going to be here every week. Like I'm going to do a weekly appearance." And they were just kind of like, "Oh yeah, that's binding. Like you got to be here now." I mean, like her confidence, her disposition is who she is off the court as well, and that's why people are so drawn to her, because of how magnetic she is.
Well, and she's figured out how to make money, and like Aaron Rodgers going on every week, he clearly doesn't do that for free. Maybe McAfee will come up with the money because it would be an interesting ratings draw. I would love to hear Caitlin with McAfee talking about what happened yesterday at her press conference when Indianapolis Star reporter Greg Doyle finally got to ask her a question.
Hi, Caitlin. Greg Doyle, Indy Star. Real quick, let me do this.
You like that?
I like that you're here. I like
Yeah,
that you're here.
I do that at my family after every game, so.
Okay, well, let's
cool.
start doing it to me and we'll be able to get along just fine.
Yeah, that was creepy.
So for anyone who doesn't know, Caitlin does the hand heart to her, and that's what he did. I mean, if that wasn't obvious, the audio doesn't tell that whole story. That was really, 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 really not necessary. I mean, just.
Well, it was awkward. It was creepy. I mean, whatever he was thinking in his mind, he completely fumbled it. I'm sure it sounded great in his head when he was preparing to do that. That just sounded like dirty old man, creepy. That wouldn't have worked at a bar, let alone at a press conference like that. To his credit, Greg Doyle later that night tweeted, "Today in my uniquely oafish way, while welcoming Caitlin Clark to Indy, I formed my hands into her signature heart. My comment afterward was clumsy and awkward. I sincerely apologize. Please know my heart, literally and figuratively, was well-intentioned. I will do better." Greg Doyle, you might get a media credential to the Indiana Fever, but you won't have locker room access. That was just weird.
Yeah, I mean, like we've all thought something would be funny or clever or whatever, like in some walk of life or some moment, and then had it not land, right? Like, oh, that wasn't funny at all. That wasn't interesting at all. And normally the consequences of that are not so severe. But I say all the time, it's really difficult to get the entire internet to agree on one thing. The entire internet agreed that this was really, really, really unnecessary. So, yeah. We did the hard thing. Adam Silver did the easy thing and suspended or banned Dante Porter for life. Is this the end of sports gambling as we know it? Jason has the answers next.
This is the Morning Huddle with Robin RJ.
Okay, Camper, rise and shine.
Morning 6 to 10, KTFM Floresville, and everywhere at sasportstar.com.
One of the preeminent researchers in the field of gratitude, Robert Emmons, writes that grateful people experience higher levels of positive emotions, such as joy and optimism, as well as being protected from the destructive impulses of envy, resentment, greed, and bitterness. So what would your life be like if you experienced and practiced more gratitude? And what impression would your life of gratitude have on others? And here is a bit of encouraging news. You can actually grow in gratitude. And there are two simple words that help us do that. Recognize and acknowledge. Recognize and acknowledge. Gratitude begins with recognition that something good has come into your life. Acknowledgement is recognizing the giver attached to the good gift. In other words, it's about seeing good and saying thank you. It can start with the giver of all good things, God the Father. This is Mark Absher with the MacArthur Park Church of Christ. Visit our church online at macarthurchurch.org. The MacArthur Park Church of Christ, connecting God and people.
Don't let pain keep you from doing the things you love. I'm Dr. Jason Garrett from Arasti. At Arasti, we fix pain fast. Whether you've been living with chronic and nagging pain for years, or if you've recently experienced an injury, our goal is to get you out of pain as quickly as possible. Arasti is completely natural and non-invasive. Plus, Arasti accepts most insurance plans. There's a location near you. Visit arasti.com. That's AIRROSTI.com. Arasti, we fix pain fast.
For the ones who work hard to ensure their crew can always go the extra mile, and the ones who get in early so everyone can go home on time, there's Grainger, offering professional-grade supplies backed by product experts so you can quickly and easily find what you need. Plus, you can count on access to a committed team ready to go the extra mile for you. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Do you find yourself stuck in a timeshare? Get the real facts about the timeshare industry and your options for cancellation. Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group, has put together a free information guide that reveals the secrets the timeshare industry doesn't want you to know, including the 5 ways to get rid of your timeshare. Call now and get this timeshare cancellation guide absolutely free.
Call 800-838-6161. That's 800-838-6161. 800-838-6161.
Heart Royal Flush Tour 2024. May 1st, Frostbank Center. A journey through the hits and timeless classics. The iconic band returns with special guest Cheap Trick. Tickets on sale now at heart-music.com. Don't miss 2 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. Heart with Cheap Trick live.
Hi, my name's Jason Thompson. I've lived in San Antonio for more than 50 years. Went to grade school, high school, and graduated from law school right here. San Antonians have trusted me as their attorney after serious injury and fatality collisions since 1994. My website is alawyerforus.com. Why a lawyer for us? Well, after several years of practice, I watched as insurance companies created their own law firms solely to defend against auto claims. Today, there are very few insurance companies that do not have their own captive law firm filled with attorneys whose job is to minimize what the insurance company has to pay on an auto claim. If you or a family member is injured in a traffic collision, you will need your own attorney. Just remember alawyerforus.com. For many lawyers you see on billboards, your case will be handled by a non-lawyer or a staff lawyer. If you call me, Jason Thompson, I will be the lawyer you speak with. The initial consultation is always free. If you or a family member needs an experienced attorney you can trust, I want you to call me, Jason Thompson. My number is 900-0400. That's 210-900-0400 or alawyerforus.com.
San Antonio's Sports Star. San Antonio's Sports Center.
Bill Belichick could be returning to the NFL as soon as 2025, and when he does, the Dallas Cowboys are reportedly among the teams he would consider joining. The Philadelphia 76ers advanced during last night's play-in action, as did the Chicago Bulls. They still have 1 game left to go against the Miami Heat, potentially without Jimmy Butler. Lots happening. We have everything you need here on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star.
How good you want to be? From play 1 to the last play, we fighting. Today's about opportunity and character. We got a chance to come out here and play football. It's a blessing. Hey, every season is full of defining moments. Let's make this day a defining moment for us in our quest. Let's go, baby.
This is the Morning Huddle on 94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star with Rob Thompson and the managing editor of Blogging the Boys, RJ Ochoa. Now, here are the guys.
Hello. Love you all. Happy Thursday. It's a small Friday in the words of Rob Thompson. That is not me. I am RJ Ochoa. I am joined this particularly April 18th sort of morning by Jason Minix, who just wanted to be up for 24 straight hours. Jason, I heard you haven't slept since last night. Is that true?
Well, that's not necessarily true. I don't know who told you that. I did get in a good nap last night. It's kind of my Friday, although working a double today. The Blitz live today out at Taste of the North Side from 2 to 6, so that will be a lot of fun. And then I'm going to enjoy my favorite Fiesta event, Taste of the North Side. And then tomorrow morning I get on a plane and go to Florida. So technically it is my Friday, and I'm in a really good mood for being up as early as I've been up.
You are quite the frequent flyer, to say the least. I think that describes you pretty well, given your activities in life. You've been on how many planes do you think you've been on in 2024?
In 2024, Already? I will be very accurate. I will pull up my Southwest app and I'll be able to tell you. I am.
I'm going to guess 50. That's my guess.
Well, you would be wrong. To this point, I've had 12 flights on Southwest. I think I've only been on one other airline. Most of those direct, but 12 round trip flights. 14,
So
13, one other airline, 13. This will be 14. I just booked, not that anybody cares. I've got to go to Portland in June for my nephew's wedding. So we decided, well, we're already going to be in the Northwest. We're going to go spend a couple of days in Jackson Hole, Wyoming. And I thought, well, that'd be great until you realize Southwest doesn't go to Jackson Hole, Wyoming. So we'll fly from Portland to Denver on Southwest and then get on a United flight from Denver to Jackson Hole and then come back on United to Denver to get on a Southwest plane to come back to San Antonio.
I don't know how you keep track of all that, but that's what the apps on your phone are for. And so
that's exactly what it is. But coordinating that was fun. But yeah, I mean, but I'm at a stage in my life, RJ, that's completely opposite of you. You've got a young son at home. My daughter will be 26 this year. We're empty nesters, so we're at the point where long weekends and travel is what we can do. When Erica was in school and living here, those things didn't happen. So now I see a concert I want to go to and figure out what city, and we go. But it's the stage of life that I'm in, which I'm grateful for.
Well earned and well deserved, and very happy for the entire Minix crew, including Erica, and all the adventures she's always on herself. I don't think there's a boring Minix out there. You know what I mean? Like, that's your last name. You have to live life to the fullest, at least.
Well,
in my
I'll introduce you to my brother one day.
So you go to Vegas a lot. I don't even know the last time you were there. It's somewhat recent, like 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
And when you're there, you're not unafraid of throwing some cheddar down, some cheese down, because you can, because it's legal there, right? You can walk in anywhere you want. You can place a bet. You can't do anything from your phone there. You can't use any of those fancy apps in Vegas. You got to go to the physical, Testament buildings. Jonte Porter's got some time to go to Vegas now.
He does. Maybe he'll have a great gambling podcast when it's all said and done. But Jonte Porter's NBA career is over. Banned for life by Adam Silver. And while it is a monumental moment for sports in general, specifically the NBA, it's a layup for Adam Silver. He banned a player who doesn't matter. He banned a player who's on a two-way contract. He banned a player that you probably didn't know was in the league, but you might know his brother, Michael Porter. He banned a guy that means nothing to the NBA. That was a layup for Adam Silver.
He is, or Jonte Porter is to Adam Silver what Dragon was to Monica in season 7 of Friends, if you know what I'm talking about. Might have been season 6, actually, but that's neither here nor there.
Yeah, don't let facts get in the way of a good story.
The Jonte Porter specificity, excuse me. I don't want to say it doesn't matter, but it's pretty obvious. It's pretty cut and dry. It's like this player, it's a two-way player for the Raptors, like kind of insignificant in the grand scheme of basketball in the NBA. So it makes sense. Super easy move for Adam Silver. Slam the gavel down. Awesome. We'll all move on with our lives. My question is, do you think, I have to imagine Roger Goodell is paying attention. I have to imagine Rob Manfred's paying attention. I have to imagine your boy, Gary Bateman's paying attention. I have to imagine, if he's doing anything, Jay Monahan, the commissioner of the PGA Tour, is paying attention. Like, there is just no way that Jonte Porter is the only person ever who took advantage of his situation in his job that people gambled on to, reap financial benefits. Zero way. It's impossible that he's the one out of millions of people.
He's not. And if you believe he is the only one, you're under a rock. The reality is he was caught, and a great example was set. The fear that all leagues have with gambling is the integrity of the game. And now that there's so much legal sports gambling, Texas one day will get on board with the trend. but also the idea that all these leagues are accepting advertising dollars from gambling companies. We have gambling sponsors here at our radio station. I gamble, you gamble, not as much. Joe gambles, Rob gambles. A lot of people listening right now gamble. A lot of people have been gambling for years with the illegal bookie type. And when Texas gets on board, we'll do that, right? It's a part of it, but we're always aware of the integrity of the game. Every one of those commercials has the disclaimer: bet what you can afford to bet, right? But when I
call
look
1-800
at
gambling if you have an addiction, things like that too. Right, totally.
Yeah, all of that is there. No different than the warnings that are on tobacco labels, or a beer commercial at the end it says drink responsibly. It's there, right? But I look at what Porter, and you wonder about the why. And the why is gambling is fun for a lot of people. Gambling is fun for me. Gambling is fun for a lot of my friends. Maybe he finds it fun. But also with inside knowledge, it becomes, you would think, easy money. Although even with the inside knowledge, the guy won about 20 grand, according to the NBA investigation with the numbers that they released. He's made about $3 million as an NBA player, but on this two-way contract, he's about $450,000 this year. So why would you piss away an NBA career over a bet? And his bets range from $15 to $2,200. Now, I've never made a $2,200 sports bet. I do a lot on Underdog Fantasy. $2, $5, $10 is generally my max. That's what I'm willing to lose at one time. And man, I like winning those things. But when I look at him and I say, why would he risk it all knowing the rules? Did he think he's not a big enough fish that the NBA would care? The numbers aren't big enough that the NBA would care, although he was also sharing information with guys making much larger bets. And then the individual props on the high or lower. He was taking himself out of games with weird injuries. So there was a lot of things going on there. And the one thing that I could say to answer the why would you do this besides it being fun, is something that I heard from former Cowboys receiver Patrick Creighton talking about former Cowboys receiver Sam Hurd. Sam Hurd had a nice NFL contract, but he was still the poor guy in the group, and he couldn't handle being the poor guy in the friend group. So he supplemented his money with selling drugs, and that landed him in jail and ended his career. Supplementing his money with a little bit of gambling for Jonte Porter has ended him out of the league, if that is the case.
I think that it starts off as it's probably fun, right? Like it start like a lot of things that generally spiral. It starts off as innocent, right? Or it starts off feeling innocent, right? Like you said, it's just a $2 bet on Underdog. Oh wow, the two guys who they had more points than I thought they would. I'm kind of good at this. Maybe I can turn this into a side hustle. Oh, I missed this one, but I also hit this one, and I want to make my money back on this one. So now I'm going to double up the money I spent, so I'm breaking even on the day, right? Like, and then it just is a cascading domino sort of effect. I think you're right that maybe I am a small enough player. These are small enough increments, because you're right. Like $2,200. I mean, at that level is our $2 bets, right? And so you're thinking like, if I just do 5,000 of these $2,200 bets over my ho-hum NBA career, like this will be some nice little pocket change for me. You know what I'm saying? To help pick up. I'm not walking around here with different sponsorships. I'm not doing the weekly appearances on our local affiliates. I'm not, getting that money. So like, let me do what I can. Let me use the skills or the information or the resources at my disposal to turn that into profitable net income for me and my family. And in some ways that is like the hustle culture that we live in now. But I mean, it's against the rules. Like it's a pretty obvious thing. And this isn't like a, it's against the rules to wear your socks differently in the NFL and you're going to get fined and that. So you're silly if you're just throwing away money like that. This is like, if there's one thing that all of the four major mafia sports organizations and leagues can come to terms with and agree on, in America, I recognize this was in Toronto or based in Toronto. It's you do not gamble. That's the one thing, like the one crime that can get you convicted in all 4 organizations, in all 4 leagues. There is precedent for a lifetime ban here. Now, you're right that we live in a day and age where he will probably have a podcast. It will probably be sponsored by some sort of sports book. Like he will probably be able to. We've seen enough Tiger Kings to be able to know that you can turn anything into a bigger money making, proposition for yourself. But man, I mean, this is a really slippery slope, and I know that that's putting it lightly.
But again, you look at a guy like Porter. He probably didn't think he would ever get caught. He probably thought he could beat the system because he was using a friend's phone, not his. And you're trying to find a way to make some extra money. The question is why. And the commissioner has talked about maybe trying to do something to where players at that level aren't involved in the individual higher, lower kind of scenarios, because I do think when you look at the lower level players, the guys on a 2-way contract, the guys that aren't making millions, they're making hundreds of thousands, the poor guys in those group, if you will, those are the ones that I think you have to worry about, because those are the ones that see what everybody else has and they don't have it. They're the ones that are more likely when somebody says, hey, man, I've got a lot of money on you not to score 14 points tonight. I'll cut you in if you don't score 14. Those are the guys that are more likely to fall into that trap. Addiction, whatever you want to call it. I mean, obviously gambling is an addiction, but whether it's the chase to be a part of the group or the upper echelon, the 1% if you feel like you're not, and the Patrick Creighton, Sam Hurd story you described, whatever the motivation was, it got him caught. And it serves as an example, one that Adam Silver was able to make, right? Like Adam Silver can tell anybody now, don't be Jonte Porter. I'll totally ban you for life. Don't do it, Jason. You better not. Close that Underdog app. You know what I'm saying? I know that they're, on the billboards and in the arena and everything like that, but you can't do it. Those are the rules when you play in the NBA. It's a wild time in sports and with all this going on. So we'll see how gambling continues to probably thrive, because it always has and it always will. But Jason, I want to know, will the Dallas Cowboys be thriving next week during the NFL draft? They will do something. Well, we'll talk about what they'll do. Coming back here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It's The Blitz with Jason and Joe. Afternoons at 2.
Coming up on The Blitz, it is going to be a special Thursday because The Blitz is live at the Taste of the North Side.
Yeah, a week away from the NFL draft, the latest on what the Cowboys and Texans might be doing. Plus, we'll react to the NBA play-in games from last night. The Blitz live at Taste of the North Side. We start at 2.
The Blitz with Jason and Joe. Afternoons at 2 on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Pro San Antonio football returns to the Alamo Dome this Saturday night as the San Antonio Brahmas play host to the Michigan Panthers. Pack the Dome for a 6 p.m. kickoff. Follow the Brahmas social channels for a link to get your Brahmas Fiesta medal with your tickets. Experience the excitement. Buy your tickets now at theufl.com. Come watch Coach Wade Phillips lead the Brahmas to take on the Michigan Panthers Saturday night at 6 in the Dome. Get your tickets now at theufl.com. Vamos Brahmas!
Injuries happen, and when they do, skip the ER and get to the Ortho Now Injury Clinic by TSAOG Orthopedics and Spine. Ortho Now provides walk-in care for injuries like broken bones, dislocations, sprains, and strains. Conveniently located in the Corey area with extended hours Monday through Saturday with on-site x-ray casting and bracing, Ortho Now has everything you need to treat your injury, and best of all, no urgent care or emergency room copay. Learn more online at tsaog.com.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
Hi, my name's Jason Thompson. I've lived in San Antonio for more than 50 years. Went to grade school, high school, and graduated from law school right here. San Antonians have trusted me as their attorney after serious injury and fatality collision since 1994. My website is alawyerforus.com. Why a lawyer for us? Well, after several years of practice, I watched as insurance companies created their own law firms solely to defend against auto claims. Today, there are very few insurance companies that do not have their own captive law firm filled with attorneys whose job is to minimize what the insurance company has to pay on an auto claim. If you are a family member is injured in a traffic collision, you will need your own attorney. Just remember alawyerforus.com. For many lawyers you see on billboards, your case will be handled by a non-lawyer or a staff lawyer. If you call me, Jason Thompson, I will be the lawyer you speak with. The initial consultation is always free. If you are a family member and needs an experienced attorney you can trust, I want you to call me, Jason Thompson. My number is 900-0400. That's 210-900-0400 or alawyerforus.com.
Listen to this station anytime, anywhere on Odyssey. Odyssey is your new audio home for all the music, news, sports, and podcasts that matter to you. Odyssey. That's AUDACY.
Hey, it's Rob Thompson here for Prize Picks. It's America's #1 sports fantasy act. 3 million players. Yes, I'm a member. You should be too. Download it now and remember the code Alamo, and you can get a deposit match of up to $100. Basketball is balling, baby. Football is coming. Baseball is swinging. It is time to go to Prize Picks because you put your fantasy knowledge into action. You know more. You know your less. You know who's better or not. You know what's going on. You're a fantasy player. Put that knowledge to work. I have, along with so many others. And right now, remember the code Alamo, and you can get a $100 deposit match right now. Go download Prize Picks. We love watching Connor McDavid, Jude Bellingham, LeBron James. They are playing go more or less. It's so easy to do, and now's the time to go. You know when it's more, you know when it's less, and when you pair them together, you can win big bucks, up to 100 times your money. More, less, Prize Picks, Alamo. Go there.
Wesley Financial Group is not a law firm.
Are you one of the nearly 10 million families that own a timeshare? Unfortunately, many families stuck in timeshares have learned the dark side of ownership, as their timeshare ends up being nothing like they were promised. I'm Chuck McDowell, founder of Wesley Financial Group. If you were lied to when buying a timeshare, you're going to need help. I know this because I once worked as a timeshare salesman, but quit the business and made it my personal mission to help folks get rid of bad timeshares. That's why I put together a timeshare exit information kit to help you understand how the timeshare industry works and your options for cancellation. Over 30,000 families have trusted us to get rid of their timeshares. Many started out by simply calling us for the free information kit and are now timeshare free.
To get your free information kit, call Wesley Financial now. Call 800-837-1919. That's 800-837-1919. 800-837-1919.
Let's go! Hi, it's Jason Minix. You're listening to the home of the Cowboys, 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
That's Jason Minix, and this is Jason Minix with me here on the Morning Huddle. I'm RJ Ochoa, and we do have some breaking news in the NBA. Wednesday night saw the Sixers beat the Heat in the first playing game and advance to the playoffs. The Heat, though, moving on to the final playing game where they will play the Chicago Bulls. The Heat will do so without Jimmy Butler. He was feared to have an MCL injury as a result of leaving the game. Shams just noted, Jason, that Butler will be out multiple weeks. So even if the Heat are successful against Chicago, they will head into the playoffs without Butler at their disposal.
And it's interesting because both Friday games now, with a playoff seed on the line, are going to have star players out. New Orleans against Sacramento, the Pelicans will not have Zion Williamson. And when I watched Zion hurt himself, I'm still trying to figure out what the hell he did. He looked angry. He didn't look hurt, but he left the game and he's got a hamstring injury. Watching Jimmy Butler yesterday, and then at the end of the game, I don't know if you saw the video on social of him walking out of the arena. Right. Limping. He wasn't walking, limping. You just looked at him and well, he ain't going to be able to play Friday. And it sucks that you've got these two games, very critical games, and you're going to be without star players. And it looks like both Zion and Butler will miss a couple of weeks at the very least.
If we did a draft for players you'd be most interested to watch among the 4 teams involved, the Pelicans, the Kings, the Heat, and the Bulls, I mean, is it not fair to say that Jimmy and Zion would maybe be 1 and 2 in that draft? So it's not just 2 players, it's like the 2 coolest players that could possibly have been from these 2 games.
Well, and Jimmy Butler is Jimmy Butler. I don't know what it is about Jimmy Butler in the postseason, but he's got a gene that, say, Dak Prescott doesn't when it comes to playing in the postseason. Jimmy Butler shines. Like when you look at the play-in tournament, and I did not like the idea of the play-in tournament when it was introduced. But I have really enjoyed the last couple of nights of basketball. I really enjoy watching basketball that matters. And there is, even though it's not total single elimination for everybody involved, it does have an NCAA tournament feel to it because, you win and you're or eliminated. Although I know, you can play Friday, all that kind of. But I've really enjoyed what we're getting out of the play-in tournament. And of the teams that were involved in the play-in tournament, in the East at the very least, I thought Miami had a chance to do some damage if they were to actually get into the postseason because of one player, Jimmy Butler. And if they don't have Jimmy Butler, 1, I don't see him winning tomorrow night. But 2, if they were to get in, they were a team that could make some noise. Sacramento, I think, has underperformed all year. They beat New Orleans tomorrow night. And without Zion, I expect them to beat New Orleans. They could be a team that could be very interesting to watch in the postseason. That first-round matchup with OKC would be fantastic.
Yeah, we don't know, obviously, assuming the Pelicans are to win, how soon Zion could return. But it's very obvious that, obviously, if the Heat win tomorrow, that Jimmy Butler won't play in the opening round against the Celtics. Odds makers obviously would have adjusted for this. The Heat are still 1.5-point favorites against the Bulls. So, the Butler effect not as seismic there, versus the Pelicans are 1.5-point home dogs to the Kings without Zion at their disposal.
And you look at the Pelicans swept Sacramento this year. The line right now for that Chicago game, boy, it's been about 5 minutes since Shams tweeted. If you could get that, I would jump all over that.
There's no way it's moving. It's got to be reflective of the injury already, I would imagine. But maybe the money will push it one way.
But again, I mean, you just look at Miami's chances. But overall, I really have come to appreciate what the play-in is offering, because you're getting basketball that matters. And 5 straight years in San Antonio with no playoff basketball. And it's been a while since we watched a game in San Antonio that mattered involving our team. So the playoffs come around, and yeah, you've got games that matter. It's going to be fun. Playoff series are fun, but playoff series get better when teams look like they are close to being eliminated, especially if it's a close series. And that's the kind of intensity you get with these play-in games. The idea that next year I expect the Spurs to at the very least be in the play-in, if not the actual playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, it does have some NCAA tournament vibes to it. I mean, it's hard to not equate what we've seen so far to the first 4, right? Like there's stuff on the line, but there is, for some teams, the 2 games obviously that we saw between the Lakers and the Pelicans and the Sixers and the Heat. There's life after a loss, right? As evidenced by the fact that they're playing tomorrow. But tomorrow should be epic. I mean, you get a win or go home NBA game. I mean, it is a playoff game. Like, you can miss me with like, oh, these aren't technically the playoffs. So, I mean, the fact that we're not going to have Zion or Jimmy, I wouldn't say ruins that, because it's still going to be electric and fun and intense. And then the actual playoffs start. Actually, while we're here, because I'm with you, the playoff or the play-in has been somewhat of a success, I think, in a large overall sense. These are the opening lines of the first games, which start on Saturday. Who do you think is favored, the Suns or Timberwolves? In their game.
T-Wolves.
Only by 1.5.
I'm taking the Suns, but T-Wolves.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Only 1.5. I find that interesting. The biggest favorites of the weekend, the first game at least, are the Nuggets. I don't think that's a surprise. They're 7-point favorites. Although that could change depending on who the Celtics obviously play. We just don't know that yet. Who do you think's favored, Dallas or the Clippers?
Dallas.
1 point favorites. Really slim. I mean, these are really tight lines. The Knicks are only 2.5 point favorites over the Knicks. Meanwhile,
wait a minute. The Knicks aren't favored over the Knicks. But I do think
the Knicks are only 2.5 point favorites over the Sixers.
That is going to be a fantastic series. I do think that is going to be a great series. And I like that. It's hard to, like right now, and Pledge asked me this the other night on Extra Innings with Pledge. I don't trust any of the teams in the East. I kind of like Boston. I really like New York, but I don't trust them. I think the East playoffs are going to be fascinating.
So along those lines, the Bucks are 1 point dogs at home to the Pacers. Obviously, no Giannis, but still, I mean, you would think.
No Giannis, and the team has not been good with Doc Rivers as the head coach. I mean, remember they fired a coach who was winning games, and it hasn't gotten better with Doc Rivers.
The two series, to your point, I'm most looking forward to involve really mostly the teams that the Spurs dominated. The Suns Timberwolves series is the best in the West, best series as far as intrigue in my mind, and the Sixers Knicks series. Now, Rob and I were talking about teams we are kind of interested in or invested in and want to, assign some rooting interest towards. I've picked the Suns in the West, and I told him I really kind of wanted that to be the Knicks in the East, but I cannot back them after they whined and moaned and groaned and complained like losers after the Wemby ball throw thing. Like I can't ride with them after that. That was such beta behavior. I'm out of the Knicks after that.
I get that. I think the Dallas Clippers series actually has a chance to be really good. And man, the Dallas Mavericks, I don't know what it is about the NBA. I have a hard time rooting for Dallas and a hard time rooting for Houston in anything. And generally speaking, if my team is out, I'm going to root for the team in Texas. That doesn't apply. And I look at this with the NBA, but Dallas against that dude that used to be here, I really hope the Mavericks send him early so he can have plenty of time to get healthy for Team USA.
I think that's a really nice way to put it. You know what I mean? You're looking out for your team, which is in this case Team USA. You know what I'm saying? You're trying to improve your overall goals and wants and wishes. So yeah, and you know what? Let's also let's accelerate Paul George's off season and figure out where he's going to be playing next year as well, because we're interested in that too. So yeah, Clippers, best of luck, happy trails. But this is a Maverick series as far as I'm concerned. Plus, I at this point I'm sort of rooting for the chaos, and so I'm not a Dallas Stars fan like you claim to be, along with your 14 other NHL teams. But the Stars are the 1 seed in the West, so they have a chance to obviously perform well in the Stanley Cup playoffs. If the Mavs win a playoff series, they're obviously on the verge of playing well themselves. The Rangers are reigning World Series champions. That just leaves the ugly stepsister, and that is the Dallas Cowboys. But the NFL draft offers hope, and it begins 1 week from tonight. What are the Cowboys going to do? We're finally going to get into it here right after the break on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It's the 2024 NFL Draft on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
We're the 24th pick. The Dallas Cowboys select
April 25th, 26th, and 27th. Join 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star for this year's NFL Draft. Live from Detroit.
I love the tenacity and the aggression with which he plays. He is a mauler.
Who do the Cowboys and Texans pick? Does Jerry make a splash? Who goes number 1? And who's the next Mr. Irrelevant?
the Houston Texans select C.J. Stroud.
You don't ever want to pass on the guy you ought to be taking there, but still be position
I
select.
thought Sauce Gardner would be the first corner, but you go back to 2019, and that version of Derek Stingley is as good as anybody in this entire draft class.
Find out right here on your exclusive home for the NFL Draft. 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Spring has sprung and it's full tilt boogie time at GiveMeTheVin.com. I'm overpaying for cars because I think they're going to go up even higher from where they are right now. We'll pay off your payoff. We'll pick your stuff up. We'll quote you quick and easy at GiveMeTheVin.com. America's best car buyer. Go there right now, and if I don't beat a CarMax offer, I'll send you a check for $100.
Sell us your car. GiveMeTheVin.com. So easy you can do it in your underwear.
It's
It's the final days of Diamonds Direct Spring Sale. This is your last chance to get 20% off store-wide. Plus, book an appointment and you'll get an additional $100 off your purchase. You don't want to miss this. 20% off rings, earrings, pendants, bracelets, and more. Tons of engagement rings on sale too. And a huge selection of the latest styles with in-store designer appearances. 20% off ends this Sunday. Details at diamondsdirect.com.
Prescriptions require an online consultation with a healthcare provider who will determine if appropriate. Restrictions apply. See website for details and important safety information. Subscription required. Price varies based on product and subscription plan.
Hey guys, did you know there's a generic form of Viagra that works just the same but is 95% cheaper? And you can get it online at hims.com/joy. Through Hims, you'll get a free medical consultation to determine the ED medication that's best for you. Discreet shipping if prescribed, a 100% online process, and a range of treatment options, including trusted generic alternatives to the name brands, at up to 95% off. ED is personal, and at Hims, so is treating it. Just go to hims.com/joy and get connected to a licensed medical provider online for free, with zero copay, no expensive appointments, and no awkward face-to-face conversations. To start your free online visit, you need to go to this exclusive address, hims.com/joy. That's hims.com/joy for your free online visit, hims.com/joy.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
It's time for the 2024 NFL Draft. NFLshop.com has everything you need to welcome the newest class of rookies with the largest assortment of officially licensed draft gear for all 32 teams. Shop official New Era draft caps, draft t-shirts, jerseys, and more. Get ready to rep the newest members of your team for the 2024 season with an unbeatable selection of gear to showcase your team pride and style. To shop now, go to NFLshop.com.
We're in the studio right now with Jose Rios from the Gomez Law Firm. Jose, tell us a little about Gomez Law.
Number one priority is to let the people know that we are a law firm that's been part of this community for almost 50 years. You know, Mr. Gomez, he's been a practicing attorney here since 1973. He's born and raised here in San Antonio, done nothing but help out personal injury victims for almost half a century. It's very important that we get that out to the San Antonio community because a lot of these attorneys like to come in here and act like they're from here, but, you know, they're all out-of-towners. They don't know what goes on here. They really don't know.
If you have been injured in an accident, injured at work, or hit by a company vehicle, don't take on the big insurance companies by yourself. Call the Gomez Law Firm at 736-4040.
We've been around for almost 50 years, and we're not going anywhere. And remember, Gomez Law fights.
If you have been injured in an accident, injured at work, or hit by a company vehicle, the first place you need to go is joegomezlaw.com.
Good morning, everybody. Jason Minix here from the Blitz at 2 o'clock. Today we start, and we will be live at A Taste of the Northside, my favorite Fiesta event. We are a week away from the NFL Draft. We'll have the latest on the Cowboys, on the Houston Texans, and whatever Jerry Jones is cooking up, plus all the reactions from last night's NBA play-in games, and get you set for the NBA playoffs that start this weekend. Hey, Jason, are you going to get a nap before you head over to Taste of the Northside? Maybe.
You don't seem like somebody who would be good at napping.
I'm not.
It's a thing. Like, I think that I wouldn't say it's a skill, but some people are bad at napping. It's hard to shut your brain off it's hard for some people to shut their brain off during the day. You know what I'm saying? I think you're one of those people.
I probably won't nap per se. Like, I won't go crawl into bed and turn everything off and that sort of thing. Now, granted, I never sleep with the TV off anyway, as you know. As you love. But will I go sit in the recliner and do nothing for 15 minutes and turn my phone off? Maybe. It's possible. But like I see Gilberto on YouTube says, I love 15 to 20-minute naps. I've never been that guy. Now, granted, I'm not a great sleeper to begin with. 5-6 hours is what I typically get. But yeah, no, I wish I could go take a nap and get some sleep. But no, I won't.
Well, I hope you're able to rest or relax in some capacity. Joshua Jimenez says in the Brigade Bar, I love naps. I shut my brain off. You know, I like the idea of it.
We've seen his comments. There's not much there to shut off.
Well, you should consider some sort of rest. But you took a 5-hour energy, so I don't know how that works. I don't know when that runs out or whatever. But
well, in about 4 hours, I'll take another one. Today might be a 2 or a 3 5-hour energy kind of day, because it's not only the ability to be awake but be coherent, make sense while you're talking, but then it's Taste of the North Side tonight. So it's not even like when the Blitz ends at 6 o'clock, I can come home and just relax and do nothing, man. I'm ready for my favorite Fiesta event. It goes from 60 miles an hour to 90. Let's go.
Well, remember when the Blitz used to end at 7? Your life used to be so much more difficult back then.
You have no idea. You're right. Well, and like for an example, an event like what we're going to be at tonight, the first hour, we see everybody having fun, and we weren't a part of the fun. This time we'll get done right as the doors open. Although people will get in early, and as the different restaurants are preparing the food there at Taste of the North Side, we'll be official taste testers just to make sure the quality is up to expectation. So it's going to be great. Can't wait. Tickets still available, I believe. tasteofthenorthside.org, promo code STAR, and you could save yourself $25 on your tickets with promo code STAR.
Make sure to follow Jason on Instagram. He'll definitely be posting pictures of everything that he eats, and you can live vicariously through him.
Yeah, probably not.
Did you hear what Marcus Spears had to say about the Dallas Cowboys?
I hear Marcus Spears say a lot of things about the Dallas Cowboys. Can you be more specific, sir?
I'm not going to be specific because I'm not going to speak for somebody else. I'm just going to let Marcus tell you what he thinks about the Dallas Cowboys himself.
No, I'm not okay. I'm not okay because everybody else does it. First of all, Stephen Jones is my guy. When I see Stephen, we talk. He knows how frustrated I am when it comes to the moves that they make and how they stand pat. We've known for 2.5 years now that you're going to have to re-sign Micah Parsons and CeeDee Lamb. But only having them two and Dak is not going to win you a damn Super Bowl. And that is what we're talking about in context. And the problem is, because it makes sense to have to sign both of those guys, they're going to command a lot of money when they up for their contracts. Everybody knows that. But the bottom line is, everybody that's winning Super Bowl figure out a way to do it. Kansas City figures out a way to pay their guy. Chris Jones just got $107 million. Pat Mahomes got $500 million. Travis Kelce signed a contract. They signed offensive linemen to high dollar contracts. We see the Philadelphia Eagles do it every damn offseason. So as much as we focus on the Cowboys and we get mad about them standing pat, you should be pissed off more as a Dallas Cowboy fan. The fact that other people can figure out and manage ways to do this and get to championships or NFC championships with signing their own players and also bringing in free agents. I've been singing this song for 3 years now. Has the roster been good? Yes, it's been solid. This may be the worst one since we've been talking about Dallas having a chance to win a damn Super Bowl. Everybody else can do it. And it seems when it comes to the Dallas Cowboys, it's always something we're trying to get people in that's going to take you over the hump.
I love Marcus Spears in general for his contributions to the Dallas Cowboys, but a lot of Cowboys that join the national media, a lot of people that join the national media, I shouldn't limit that to just Cowboys, get a little bit hot takey, right? Like, get a little bit away from themselves. Marcus is just straight up, is just, calling it like he sees it. And I agree completely with him. There's not a word he said that I have a problem with. I mean, what did he say that you disagree with? Or that, I mean, I'm not saying that you necessarily do, but if you
I love Swagoo. I miss when he was coming on the Blitz every Monday afternoon. He's a friend. I get it. And he's frustrated. Every Cowboy fan is frustrated. And everything that he said is true to a point. Kansas City could not pay Tyreek Hill, and they let Tyreek Hill walk. Yet they still went and won a Super Bowl because they've got an incredible quarterback and an incredible coach. But they have lots of conversations in Kansas City about who's getting paid and who isn't, and frustration with Chris Jones and other people. They aren't immune to some of the drama, backroom office talk, contract negotiations, players being frustrated, talk that's going on in Dallas. But even the Kansas City Chiefs, champions, they don't get the attention or the spotlight that the Cowboys have on their particular contracts. And I think a big part of that is, one, you're talking about America's team. It is the Dallas Cowboys. They are the gold standard, but I don't understand. They haven't earned being the gold standard. Everybody compares to the Dallas Cowboys, and they haven't won a damn thing in about 30 years. So I always find that interesting, but I get the world that Jerry Jones has created and that spotlight, that microscope that shines so brightly. At the same time, yeah, we've known for 2.5 years that these deals have to get done. Jerry has signed guys early before. Well, that didn't work. They still don't have a Super Bowl. He has waited before for whatever business reason he has, and that hasn't worked because the Cowboys haven't won a Super Bowl yet. You look at Philadelphia. Now, granted, they've had a recent Super Bowl. They've lost a recent Super Bowl. Hell, the Eagles drafted a quarterback high and moved on from him pretty quick when they realized it was a mistake. The Cowboys, even if they wanted to move on from Dak Prescott, and I don't think that they do, but if they did, they haven't set themselves up to be able to do that like the Eagles did. They knew they made a mistake. They drafted a Jalen Hurts, and they moved on from that mistake.
So, a couple of things here. On the Eagles front, I remember this was, when I was first getting into blogging and trying to do all this, was around 2015. Juan rocked the mic in 2016, just for some time context here. But 2015 was the year that Chip Kelly, went wild and crazy with the Eagles, and he traded for Sam Bradford, and he traded away LaShawn McCoy, and he signed DeMarco Murray, and he brought in Byron Maxwell, and everything failed, and it was this massive, just overall disaster. And I remember thinking, in my, just not understanding of how things worked brain, like, oh, they're going to be ruined for a decade. Like, there's just no way. Like, this team is going to be set back forever. Chip Kelly destroyed them. They won the Super Bowl 2 years later with an entirely different cast of role players and significant players because they were able to move on. And to your point, the quarterback who, led them to the Super Bowl obviously didn't win it in Carson Wentz. Yes, they drafted Jalen Hurts, and yes, they did induce some level of drama. And I maintain that they made life harder on Carson than it had to be. He didn't help himself. I mean, that's a different subject in and of itself. But they were ready. They gave him that big-time contract extension in 2019, and they were able to move on from him. All of these assets that depreciated for the Eagles, because you brought them up, they were able to get something out of, right? They were able to move on from. Even DeMarco, that contract failed. They traded him to the Tennessee Titans. I mean, they were able to get something out of everything. There is never a truly sunk, lost cause or asset for the Eagles. And you look at the Kansas City Chiefs, who Swagoo brought up himself. They got the Chris Jones deal done. Awesome. Travis Kelce's obviously not going anywhere. Patrick Mahomes obviously not going anywhere. Those are the main, dudes now with this dynasty. Tyreek Hill, they were very easily able to get something out of, but they did. They cashed out when the moment, they sensed it was right, and they've won 2 Super Bowls ever since. Even L'Jarius Sneed, who it was, oh man, what are they going to do? Are they going to pay Sneed? They're going to pay Chris Jones. What's going to happen? Blah, blah. They were able to flip Sneed for something. So yes, they lost him, but they still did turn him into assets. They've never just let people walk, let people leave. And to Swagger's point was, all these teams sign players. How come you can't do that? That's a fair question. That's a question I would like to be answered as well. But why can't you be on the cutting edge and say, you know what? We're not going to be able to bring back Tyron Smith in 2024. Let's move on. Let's get something out of him for now. Instead, they just ride let everything, fizzle out and fade, and they get nothing in return for anybody. And they're on the verge of letting that happen with the most important commodity you can have in the NFL on a franchise quarterback. They might let Dak walk for nothing next year. And maybe they do that with CD a couple of years from now. You mentioned this earlier. They still hold some, obviously, contractual power over him for the time being. But they're not ahead in any way. There's no forward thinking happening in any way, shape, or form around their front office.
You look at this, and I look at Dak, right? And let's start with Dak. I agree with you 100%. There's no way that they let Dak Prescott walk and not get anything in return. And it's interesting. And for the record, I think he gets re-signed. I really do.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Or they could work out a trade. It would have to be a sign-and trade because they would want to get something in return. I don't think the Cowboys would be willing to roll the dice, let Dak play this year. He was second in MVP voting last year. If he has another year close to that, and let him test the free agent waters, and the idea of, we'll sign him in February whenever the season ends before free agency begins. If Dak gets to that point, don't you think Dak Prescott might want to see what he could get on the open market? Wouldn't it be, if you're Dak Prescott and you're advising Dak Prescott, if it gets to that point, Dak, what about a fan base where you could go to and they would appreciate you? Because that doesn't happen here. So I do think, and I remember when Jane Slater said she was hearing August makes sense. You and I have been in Oxnard many times at Cowboys training camp around Dak's birthday, and we see other guys get signed. Jerry loves doing contracts at training camp. I'll never forget the time Rob Thompson and I were, when Rob was still doing afternoons, you might have actually been there. We're interviewing Travis Frederick on the show, and talking to Travis about his contract, and that was under the Jason Garrett time frame. Travis is sitting there doing the interview, talking about, when the agents will get it taken care of, all the BS cliche answers. They go to practice, because Jason Garrett used to have those practices in the afternoon, and then after practice, big press conference that morning, Travis had signed a new contract. And then he sat there and flat lied to Rob and I. Right? Because Jerry loves doing contracts in training camp. So I like the idea of August. That makes sense before the season starts. But don't let it get to the point where Dak has even more leverage. Could say, you know what, Jerry, I'm walking. I'm going to test free agency. Maybe I'll be back. Maybe I won't. But I'm going to go see what these other teams are willing to offer. And if you're Dak Prescott, you know that you're looking at about $60 million a year coming up for you for the next several years, whether you're getting paid by the Cowboys or somebody else.
I know that Jane told y'all August, and I understand that for the reasons that you just outlined. But to Marcus's kind of general point, why? Why do you have? Because you like it? Because you like doing it in August? That's so dumb. Why can't you do it in March and have every day between March and August to do other things? You know what I mean? Like they have not earned some luxury to do things Sinatra style their way. Like that to me is ridiculous. That it should be, we like doing it in August, so we're going to wait and we're going to push everything off. You said don't let him get other leverage. What if Trevor Lawrence gets a market-setting deal from the Jaguars? I don't think he will, but what if he does? What if Tua Tagovailoa gets one from the Miami Dolphins? Again, I don't think that happens, but those possibilities lurk. Why play with fire like that?
Because you want to touch the stove to see if it's still hot. Because that's what Jerry does, and that might be different than what you do. But I do think Trevor has a chance to reset the market. Tua has a chance. Not because they've earned it, and then I go through this with Ryan Eagle every afternoon when we talk quarterback contracts. It's supply and demand, and it's next, and that's the way the system is set up. When you're next, you're generally getting 2.5%, 3% more. Now, is Tua a top 10 quarterback? Is Trevor a top 10 quarterback? You look at the Justin Herbert deal, you look at the Trevor Lawrence deal. You look at where Joe Burrow is at right now. Joe Burrow has been to a Super Bowl. But, it's the next mentality, and it's generally in that 2.5%, 3% more than what the last guy got. I saw a tweet here today. Justin Jefferson, the number's at $32 million. Well, if you're CeeDee Lamb, Justin, go get 32 because I want you to go first. CeeDee Lamb might get 30. Justin Jefferson's now at 32. CeeDee Lamb's agent's now asking for 32. That's the way this system works, and that's what will bite the Cowboys in the ass as they continue to wait, and they have overpaid for so many guys because of that. But there's no deadline to get a deal done with Dak Prescott right now. The Cowboys know the framework of the deal. They know the ballpark of the contract, just like, we just had tax day. Did you do your taxes in January when you got all the stuff and say, oh, you know what, I owe the IRS this much money, I'm going to go ahead and pay that now? Or did you wait till Monday to send in your money to the IRS? You waited until there was a deadline. There's no reason for the Cowboys other than to make R.J. Ochoa happy and get him to stop complaining that they haven't done anything to get a deal done now.
Because what you owed to the IRS didn't change and wasn't subject to change between January and Monday. That's the difference here. I mean, it's a flat, it's obviously annually changes, but like the rate you're talking about in one hypothetical year is a flat rate. You know what it is. You just have to do the work. So if this were that, then fine. If the price was going to be X no matter what, then who cares when you do it? But to your point, in waiting and delaying and stalling and procrastinating and dragging it out, you're making this more difficult. You're actually making the number larger, or at least flirting with the possibility that it can become larger, and you're ruining your chance at doing other things to help the roster in the process.
And again, I minor details, but I mean, they've got a ballpark of what they have done. And if the Cowboys have done their projections right, and I say if, big capital letters and underlined, they have projected hopefully on the high end of what they expect to pay Dak. And if it comes in under, they're going to feel like they've won. And I say that because I feel like Jerry has told us that in not so many words over other deals. When we all think he's lost and he says he's won, and I think it's because he is over-projected and maybe has projected what some of those other quarterbacks are going to get. And when I say Jerry, it's the people working under Jerry, but he's got a projection. And, they're going to start low because they know where that is, but they've got a ceiling too, and hopefully when they've done all their other contract projections and they put them all up on the board, they're all projected at high. So if some come in lower than they're projecting, they're going to have the ability to go do some other things or at least have some extra cash.
I'm not willing to give them any if, whether it's uppercase, all caps,
no, you
lowercase.
Give them no credit for anything. Again, you're mad right now when they chew their food too loud.
If you want to Charlie Brown this thing and you want to trust Lucy that this time the if will work out, that's up to you. I mean, I've been Charlie way too much. I've fought their fight. I've sang their songs. I've praised them when certainly earned and merited, and I've given them an extended benefits of the doubt. But their reluctance to be even mildly, I'm not even saying forward thinking, just flat level parallel thinking, it destroys an ability to give them any kind of trust.
All right, we're talking about the Cowboys, obviously, and you give them none, and they're all going on an if. All 32 teams are going on the if this works out mentality, and it works out for one team every year. But all these contracts that we're talking about and comparing, we're comparing CD to Justin. Now you're talking about Trevor and Tua to Dak. Well, why hasn't Trevor's deal been done yet? Why hasn't Tua's deal been done yet? Why hasn't Justin's been done yet? They're all in the same boat, working along the same timelines, right? But none of those deals are done yet either.
Quarterbacks that they're dealing with, and franchise receivers coming off the most statistically impressive season in franchise history, and one of the best pass rushes in the NFL. I mean, to Marcus's point, they knew this day was coming for 2.5 years. So why were they not prepared?
All these other teams have known these days are coming too. All these other teams have known.
But those teams don't have the and this isn't a pattern of behavior for other teams the way it is for the Cowboys.
It's a rich people problem, isn't it, that they have two guys in this same boat.
Look, let's talk about the Spurs, because there's no way that can upset us whatsoever. You said you like the play-in.
Come on. This is fun. This is too much fun.
So let's talk about the Spurs
on the ropes.
and whether anything from the play-in made us feel differently about them, because that's the whole goal since they're not in here. We're talking Spurs. and the Morning Huddle on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
This is 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star, KTFM Floresville.
Head of the field and throws it down with a right hand.
Your home for the NBA.
Sadly, statistics show that 1 out of every 3 women in the U.S. will encounter physical abuse from an intimate partner, and violence against children persist. Christie's Hope strives to overcome domestic violence by providing critical financial support to shelters that offer housing, healing, and preventative measures. Thomas J. Henry proudly collaborates with Christie's Hope in the shared mission to end domestic violence and empower victims. Join us in building a legacy of hope. Donate today at christieshope.org.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-2706. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at tra.com or call 800-575-2706. That's 800-575-2706. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Working from home, you realize you don't have enough outlets or USB ports. Hill Electric can fix that for you. For over 3 decades, the family-owned Hill Electric has served San Antonio homes and businesses. From adding an outlet, fixing that fuse that always blows, or that flickering light, Hill Electric has the right service at the right price, and there is never a service charge and always free estimates. Call Hill Electric at 210-404-9074. That's 404-9074. Or go to hill-electric.com.
QC Kinetics announces the arrival of National Medical Director Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup, an acclaimed orthopedic surgeon with 2 decades of experience and extensive research in regenerative medicine.
But I was one of the first orthopedic surgeons to do it. And at the same time, I integrated clinical research that's resulted in several publications that are really directing the future of regenerative medicine. I was drawn to QC Kinetics after I reviewed their protocols, and everything they were doing is consistent with my own approach.
Today, Dr. Scheinkup leads the entire team of medical professionals at QC Kinetics, taking this exciting medical breakthrough to a whole new level.
What we are doing at QC Kinetics is transforming lives.
Get lasting joint pain relief. Call QC Kinetics now for your free consultation.
This is the future of medicine.
Call QC Kinetics, 210-571-0318. That's 210-571-0318. 210-571-0318.
Spring has sprung and it's full tilt boogie time at GiveMeTheVin.com. I'm overpaying for cars because I think they're going to go up even higher from where they are right now. We'll pay off your payoff. We'll pick your stuff up. We'll quote you quick and easy at GiveMeTheVin.com. America's best car buyer. Go there right now, and if I don't beat a CarMax offer, I'll send you a check for $100.
Sell us your car. GiveMeTheVin.com. So easy you can do it in your underwear.
94.1 San Antonio's Sports Star. San Antonio's Sports Center.
The Miami Heat's Jimmy Butler is expected to miss a few weeks with injury, according to the Athletic Shams, which means the Miami Heat will be without him as they face off against the Chicago Bulls in the play-in. The Sixers advanced on Wednesday night. The play-in continues on Friday. The NBA playoffs about to take off. We're talking about them here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Sports Center is brought to you by Buyers Barricades, the Texas Authority in Barricade Rental. BuyersBarricades.com.
Wembanyama goes behind the back here. Oh, little sidestep and a jam by Wembanyama. Drive. Oh, it's knocked away by Wembanyama.
This is the Morning Huddle on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star. With Rob Thompson and the managing editor of Blogging the Boys, RJ Ochoa. Now, here's Rob and RJ.
Hello. Happy Thursday. It's not Monday, not Tuesday, not Wednesday, not Friday. It is Small Friday. No Rob Thompson in the building today. My name is RJ Ochoa. With me, not as always, but every now and then, the one and only Jason Minix. Jason, happy Eve, Stanley Cup playoffs Eve.
Absolutely. It's a good Thursday. Fun pulling a little double duty. Somebody just put on there, I should do the mornings every day. That's not going to happen. Every now and then, I don't mind waking up and hanging out with you guys, whether it's you or whether it's Rob. Always fun doing a show with RJ. And if you know some of our history, it's even better. And fun to do, but I couldn't do this every day. I did a morning show for 8 years back in the day, and it took me about 2.5 years to recover from it. Not my thing. I'm not an early guy, early morning riser.
It is, it's weird getting up before the sun is up. I mean, a lot of other people do it in way more noble walks of life. You know what I mean? Contributing to society in a more serious capacity. But, you know.
We're essential employees. I mean, like, I realize I am married to a nurse who literally is a career emergency room nurse, although not in the ER right now. But her career, I mean, and she used to say, well, I save lives for a living. So do we. We talk people off the ledge. We talk people down from all kinds of stuff. We provide the escape from reality, from whatever your normal day-to-day is. If you're driving, doing routes, or you're staring at spreadsheets, we're your escape from that reality, man. That is essential. We are very important, RJ. Don't let anybody tell you otherwise.
I'm not saying that. I'm just saying we're not in an emergency room unless somebody's playing us. You know what I'm saying? That would be, where's the weirdest place you've ever heard somebody tell you that they listen to the show?
I don't know that I could actually answer that question on the air. Especially
that's kind
in
of
the
the
mornings.
answer.
There are a variety of things that are happening right now while we are talking that you probably would not want people to, or you would not want to know. I mean, but you know, we're on at job sites, we're on at work, we're on in the bathroom, we're on in bedrooms, we're on in cars, we're you know, it's I mean, somebody's listening to us right now in Nebraska. I know there's a guy stationed in deployed right now in Syria that listens on a pretty regular basis, that sends messages. So yeah, you have no idea, and quite frankly, don't necessarily want to know.
That's the magic of the internet. Did you enjoy the playing games last night?
I did. I did. I've enjoyed the play-in tournament this year. I probably enjoyed it last year, although I don't remember. But being a prisoner of the moment, I've really enjoyed the competitive basketball that we have seen the last two nights. I wasn't a fan of the idea of the play-in. And there are some things about the play-in that I'm still not a fan of. I think if you've got a below 500 record, you shouldn't be allowed in the postseason. But I feel that in high school football, when I see a team that has a 3-7 record, yet they were fourth in their district and they make the playoffs. I think there should be, you know, a little caveat to this play-in that if you're below 500, you're not there. And if we don't have a play-in this year, you don't get it. We're not going to have it. You know, the top 8 seeds are it. If there's not enough teams that qualify. When you look at, there are times where like back in the Spurs heyday, the West was so stacked. You would have 3.5 games maybe separating the 8th seed from the 3rd seed. The 9th seed, a team that missed out, might be 4 games out, right? I think that makes the play-in intriguing when you have legit playoff teams, because the league is so competitive that having 2 more teams with an opportunity is exciting. But having teams with sub 500 records, you don't belong. You shouldn't be there.
I don't know if I agree with that. I would appreciate. I would like more of a kind of moving rule, right? Like if you are, I don't know, 20 games back of the 1 seed or something like that. You know, like there should, because
kind of like making a cut in golf.
Yeah, exactly. Like above or below 500 can be can mean different things. You know what I'm saying? In different years. That's all I'm saying. Like there's years where, winning 40 games is more impressive than winning 45, just kind of based on whatever's going on in that particular season. So yeah, I like a cut line, so to speak, that's based on the leader of the pack, the one seed or whatever we define it to be relative to that particular year. And maybe that allows room for somebody else to, be in the play-in that wouldn't otherwise be in the play-in, but it should be relative to the season at hand.
When you look at the Atlanta Hawks are 10 games under 500, as I see a text that John Robbins was just listening to us while in the shower.
The other day he made
cold shower vibes,
a meme.
Man.
The other day he made a meme. I hope he didn't make that in the shower. You know what I'm saying? Like if that's his listening routine. I mean, because he sent it to you, so that would mean and me. So that's what I'm saying. Then he would have invaded you. You know what I'm saying?
I'm just. I mean, you have no idea. All right, you brought it up. Where's the strangest place you have listened to this radio station? When I say strange, whatever activity you might have been doing, location, whatever. Where do you normally consume the product? 210-656-ESPN, 656-3776. You could tweet at RJ Ochoa, at Jason Minix, at SA Sports Star. If you're watching on YouTube, comment there. Now, I will say, since we've done the YouTube thing, I do find it very cool, maybe fascinating, interesting, when I see where people watch the show. When in your man cave and you've got it on a big screen television, or somebody posted a picture not long ago in their cubicle, this big office cubicle setting, and we were on multiple televisions in the afternoon. Stuff like that I find fascinating because I'm a radio guy, and there you are on a screen. But in the offices, let us know where you normally consume the show. Now back to the point. Atlanta's 10 games under 500 at 36-46. Chicago, they're 39-43. They are close. So in the East this year, if they didn't have the play-in tournament, RJ, by my theory, then Miami would have been the 8th seed. They're 46-36. In the West, though, everybody that was involved in the play-in was over 500. In fact, Houston, the first team out, was at exactly 500 at 41-41, but even Golden State and Sacramento were 10 games over 500. So the West would have had a play-in this year under my scenario. The East would not have.
This is why, as time has gone on, I've become a bigger fan of the way the Premier League works from a standing.
Well, you'll have to explain that to me because I have no idea.
So I know that you're a big English soccer fan. Okay.
Huge.
Who's your favorite team?
Name one.
You can name an English soccer team. I know you can.
Well, you said a specific league, right?
Okay. There are 20. Let's use the Premier League as an example. Although this works in most European soccer.
Manchester.
There are 2 Manchester
Barcelona.
teams, but that's a Spanish team.
Ted Lasso's team.
Also not a real team. So I mean, anyway.
But I believe
there are 20 teams in the Premier League. Okay. So each team plays all of the other 19 once at home, once in away. That's it. That's you get 38 games in the Premier League season. Once at home, once in away. Not division rivals, not whatever. You get one trip everywhere, and everybody comes to your house one time. Every win, you get 3 points. Every draw, you get 1 point. A loss, 0 points, and that's it. That's the standings. There's no playoffs. There's no tournament in the Premier League specifically. It's just that. But I like that it's all based on points because it merges everyone together. To your point about you don't have a Chicago or an Atlanta or whatever that kind of squeaks in and gets in because they're just fortunate to be an Eastern Conference team and the East is so weak overall. And you don't have teams like Houston that probably, watch Atlanta flounder and feel like, we deserve that spot. Like we would totally be in. There's times in the NFL where you have a 10 or now 11 win team that misses out because they were in the wrong division or they were in a division that had other successful teams or a conference that had other successful teams. And so the formats are never perfect. They're never harmonious all the way around, but I've become a fan of something like that that's a little bit more universal.
Well, when you look at, say, like right now in the Premier League, Crystal Palace Why does that sound like that's an old bar name in San Antonio? Was that a strip club at one point back in the day? There's
Crystal
17
Palace
games
is coming
back.
off of a massive win last week against Liverpool, so you will put some respect on their name.
Well, they're still in 14th place right now, where the
That's right.
Tottenham Spurs are
Hotspur.
in 5th.
It's singular. Hotspur, not Spurs.
Well, whatever. They're the Spurs. Man City. I said Man City.
You said
Arsenal,
Manchester.
Same thing. Is Manchester and Man City not the same thing?
They're in Manchester, but there's Manchester City and there's Manchester United.
Well, so Manchester. I encompass both. Right? I mean, can't you follow along with the obvious? What is Newcastle? What is West Ham?
These are all teams.
Well,
So,
no, but
I don't know.
West Ham sounds like an interesting sandwich. Chelsea, I've heard of.
You've heard of Chelsea? Okay. If you've seen Ted Lasso, you've seen these teams in the later seasons.
I mean, yeah. That's why I say some of these names look familiar.
Anyway, I like the idea of everyone being under one collective ranking, if that makes sense, and not delineating by East, West, or whatever. And then you wind up with teams that aren't, available to be in playoffs or tournaments or whatever, because that does stink. Like I can get how a Houston fan last night would have been really, because like, oh no, Atlanta got blown out. What a big shock. A team that's that, that far down under 500 wasn't able to compete legitimately. How could we have ever foreseen or predicted that? You know what I'm saying?
Well, I mean, could you, and it, I hate to say this, but it's almost, the fairness system, because with the point system that you're describing, and there's some things here that I like, that and almost like a ranking system, like determining the college football playoff. If you look at an SEC team, they're going to tell you that their schedule is a lot tougher than what we used to know as the Pac-12. So are they graded differently? But when it comes to postseason play, should you go by winning percentage and do away with conferences? So that way you could still keep the conferences and the traditional rivals that we have in the scheduling, but a team that might be a 2 seed in the East would be a 5 seed in the West, or a team that wouldn't make the playoffs in the West but would in the East. Maybe when it's time for the playoffs, you do away with the conferences, and then at that point you're going with some sort of winning percentage or the point system.
I like that because, and maybe I know the NBA's floated out. Well, they had the midseason tournament, but
well, that was stupid.
I know, but like
and
an NBA Cup or something like that, like that would be interesting. And then you create new rivalries, right? Because you blur, conference lines or whatever. Like, that would be interesting. You said this at the top of the show, that there's a constant debate as to what the best time, best weekend, best whatever in sports is. Football season's undefeated, but where we're at right now and where we're approaching, certainly with this weekend with so many playoff games about to begin, I think this comes close. Jason Minix is going to argue that we are about to enter the best window of the sporting calendar. His exact words, and he'll tell you why right after the break here on the Morning Huddle.
Make it up.
It's The Blitz with Jason and Joe. Afternoons at 2.
Coming up on The Blitz, it is going to be a special Thursday because The Blitz is live at the Taste of the North Side.
Yeah, a week away from the NFL draft, the latest on what the Cowboys and Texans might be doing. Plus, we'll react to the NBA play-in games from last night. The Blitz live at Taste of the North Side. We start at 2.
The Blitz with Jason and Joe. Afternoons at 2 on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Did you wake up this morning in pain? Stop. Arasti is here to help. Arasti providers are all around San Antonio with one job in mind, and that is to get you out of pain. They are highly trained medical professionals before they even earn the Arasti certification, because that's what it takes to be an Arasti provider. You never need a referral to go see one, and they accept most insurances. Write this number down. It's 1-800-404-6050. I've had lower back issues my entire adult life until I started going to Arasti. They taught me how to get out of pain even before it begins. Don't let pain keep you from doing things that you love. Call an Arasti provider today. They're going to get you fixed. And when they do, I want you to thank me later.
Pork rinds pack a protein punch and are the boldest low-carb snacks out there. Skip the chip and try Southern Recipe small batch pork rinds for that ultimate crunch. And with flavors that will have you craving for more, the time to stock up on Southern Recipe at H-E-B is now. Southern Recipe small batch pork rinds. Be big, be bold, be adventurous.
We all hear the radio ads about the IRS. They tell you to be afraid, to be scared, and they try to frighten you into calling. I'm not here to do that. Tax Relief Advocates is different. TRA is here to tell you that if you owe money to the IRS, whether it's $5,000, $50,000, or $500,000, we have a solution. It doesn't matter if you're sitting in your car, at work, or with your kids. No matter where you are, call now. 800-575-9313. Don't lose hope. TRA can eliminate or reduce what you owe to the IRS. There is zero risk to you. If we can't reduce your tax debt, then you pay nothing. Our passion is taxes and helping individuals fix their IRS problems. We have a 5-star rating on Google and an A+ with the Better Business Bureau. You don't need to be afraid of the IRS any longer. End your tax nightmare today by visiting us online at TRA.com or call 800-575-9313. That's 800-575-9313. Tax Relief Advocates. Real solutions for real people.
Puro San Antonio football returns to the Alamo Dome this Saturday night as the San Antonio Brahmas play host to the Michigan Panthers. Pack the Dome for a 6 p.m. kickoff. Follow the Brahmas social channels for a link to get your Brahmas Fiesta medal with your tickets. Experience the excitement. Buy your tickets now at theufl.com. Come watch Coach Wade Phillips lead the Brahmas to take on the Michigan Panthers Saturday night at 6 in the Dome. Get your tickets now at theufl.com. Vamos Brahmas!
We all know what UV rays can do to our skin, but they can also do damage to your car. Keep that from happening with 303 Protectant. 303 Protectant keeps the sun's harmful rays from causing fading and cracking in rubber, plastic, or vinyl surfaces. From the dashboard to the tires, 303 Protectant keeps your car looking new longer. Get 303 Protectant today at Advance Auto Parts. Visit 303radio.com for more information.
At Progressive, we know money can't buy you happiness, but money did help you buy an RV, which means an excuse from working Saturday with your insufferable coworker, Dave. So money is helping you listen to birds chirp instead of Dave chirping about how his toddler is fluent in 3 languages. And it's also why you'll be smelling pine trees in the air, not Dave's tuna melt reheating in a microwave. So save money by bundling your RV or boat insurance with home or auto from Progressive and buy more happiness, or something close to it. Progressive Casualty Insurance Company, affiliates, and other insurers. Not available in all states.
This is Jim Rome. Join me weekdays at noon on my new home, 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
Is this the best time in the sporting calendar? All right, Jason, here's where we're at. NBA playoffs start this weekend.
Yep.
NHL playoffs, Stanley Cup playoffs start this weekend.
Yep.
Golf season's really picking up. Masters obviously behind us, but some big-time tournaments, PGA Championship on the way. The weather's great. It's not overly hot yet, right? Fiesta.
Sure.
You can add that to kind of the vibe in the air, right? Like, not a sporting thing, but like just the general collective vibe.
Fiesta is very much a sport. Stacking cups, avoiding shoulder contact with some, not spilling beer or getting. Fiesta is a sport.
Take it that way if you want. Major League Baseball's off and running. Not a great time for the Houston Astros, but off and running nonetheless. It's a big time of year for fights. We get big fights kind of in the spring, summer, right? Like these things are all kind of percolating. There's something seemingly every night, especially once the NBA playoffs and Stanley Cup playoffs happen. You have a game of serious consequence every other night. So is it the best time of the year in sports?
No. It's a great time of year. It really is. And there's nothing better in my mind than the Stanley Cup playoffs. But you look at it, none of it will measure up to football. There's a lot going on. This is definitely the time of year where you're you got 2 TVs set up in the living room, or you're hanging out at a place like the Rue Pub because there is so much going on. You need multiple screens, but you know what? You need that during football season too, because there are so many games that matter that are on at the same time. It's football and everything else. It is a busy time of year. You are right, but Do you schedule your life around what's going on this time of year? How many people next week, Iosa, even though, as you said, man, there are some games of consequence in the NBA and the NHL. And, oh, yeah, the Astros will probably lose to somebody. No, you're going to Nyosa. If the Cowboys are playing next Tuesday night, Nyosa would be a ghost town.
That's true. I guess the busiest sports time of the year might be the best like merging of this idea, because while football season is the best time of year, and some of that is like the weather too, again, like the vibes of what's going on. There's a lot of like events and things like that. It's not fiesta, but maybe you go to the state fair or whatever, like Halloween, right? Like you got I know you hate this, but the clock's turning back, right? Like it's all part of the vibe. But
and again, when you talk about busy and best, and football is best, football is king. You look at October, you look at November, where you've got football going on, you've got the World Series going on, you got the NBA starting, you got the NHL starting. I mean, take your L, man. This is a great time of year, but it's not the best.
I'm not saying it is the best. I was offering whether it was the best. You've made a proper argument, and I agree with you. I would say, though, that what I like about football, and not everybody's like this, and certainly with what I do and what you do and what we all do, but football, like that time of year, is so structured and so organized, right? Because you can say, like, it's going to be these days, these times, whatever. You brought up the Astros. Okay, well, yesterday it's a day game. Crap. You know what I mean? Like now I got my whole like day is different because it's a day game. Like it's a day game on a Wednesday. That's a really random, weird thing. Whereas football, it's like, I know Saturday my team's playing at this time. I know Sunday my team's playing at this time. You can plan all your food and whatever events you're going to go to around those things.
Well, and I think to your point, every football game is an event, especially for the fan base of that team. Right. You will schedule your world around your team's football game because it's once a week. Baseball, they play every day. You can check the standings on your phone every morning while you're sitting on the pot, right? But you don't have to watch every game. Most people don't watch every game. You could miss 2 weeks and pick up where you left off and kind of keep up. You can't do that with football. You can do that with any sport not named football. But when you talk about scheduling around things in your life, football season comes around, you're all right. And depending on your home situation, your wife knows Cowboys are playing. Don't bother you on this time. We're not going to plan a trip. We're not going to go to the furniture store. We're not going to H-E-B. We're not going to an open house. We're not going over to some, 2-year-old's birthday party because, well, the 2-year-old's not going to have a birthday party because their parents are good Americans and wouldn't schedule their birthday party while the Cowboys are playing. So when you look at it, you schedule around football season because they're weekly events. Even though there are many of them, for fan bases, it's weekly events. No other sport can say that and have that kind of dedication. To the point, we had new UTSA basketball coach Austin Clonch on the Blitz the other day, and I know he was on the Morning Huddle as well. And so I don't know if he said this when you guys were talking to him, but he told Joe Reinagle and I on the Blitz that, he is such a Cowboy fan that his Sunday practice for UTSA will be scheduled around the Cowboys game. Here is a man that has his priorities straight. If the Cowboys play at noon, they're going to have a late afternoon practice. If the Cowboys are in a 3 o'clock window, their Sunday practice is going to be in the morning, so he could get to wherever he's going to be able to watch the Cowboys.
That's a good man right there. I mean, that's smart, that's wise, and to the point at hand, I think this time of year it's not oversaturated. That's not the right way to put it, because oversaturated has such a negative connotation. I enjoy the high volume of activity. That every night there's multiple games, there's things going on, whatever. But it's nice that's why I use the word structured and organized. It's nice to be able to say, all right, once a week. You know what I mean? I like, to your point, coach can say, this is how this practice is going to be on this day. Oh man, this week we play on Monday nights. Whatever. Next week, that's our Thursday night game. So it's going to be a hectic, crazy week that time. But we know, and that's what's awesome too, is like, that's one of my favorite kind of runs of the year for the Cowboys is when they play Thanksgiving and then on Thursday night. It's really stressful. But after that second Thursday night game, get the weekend off. You know what I mean? Get to just sit back and watch the rest of action. And what's cool is if you follow the Cowboys, and most people around here and people listening do, I recognize that there's differences and whatnot, is your team is generally on prime time. So you get to watch everything else. You get the red zone channel and you get what's happening around the NFL before you focus in on yourself. We don't really have that option. Like, if you can't really sit back and watch like a red zone version of every NBA game going on and then tune in for the Spurs, just because they're happening at such a high frequency. That opportunity is a little bit more readily available in the playoffs because there aren't as many games happening and there aren't as many happening simultaneously. But it's just one of the reasons why football season is undefeated.
When you also look at football season being undefeated, the NBA playoffs will be going on next week. The NHL playoffs will be going on next week. Baseball is going on next week. And Thursday night, the NFL draft is going to dominate the television ratings, right? It's not even a game. It's not a game. It's the draft, and it will dominate in the ratings.
And to your point, in a month or whenever, when they release the schedule, that will beat out every playoff game happening that day and Major League Baseball game happening that day. People love to be like, it's just a reading of a list. It's not a list, because to the point we've been making this entire conversation, it's a sequence of activity. We can finally plan the rest of the year. Like, I don't know, there's something maybe your wife's like, can we go here? Should we do this? Blah, blah. I don't know yet. I can't say yes. I can't commit because I don't know. I need to see the schedule first before I make a decision.
Well, and again, we schedule around football. There are some great concerts coming to the fall time window. A couple that are on Friday nights, either in San Antonio or Austin, that I'd love to go to. I'll be at a high school football stadium. I don't know which one yet. I'm working on the schedule now, waiting to get some confirmations on some, but I don't know yet. But I know where I'm going to be. It's going to be at a high school football game on those Friday nights. And quite frankly, if those tickets were available on a Saturday, I don't know that I would buy them until I saw the rest of the schedule. I am going to Denver to see Green Day on Saturday, September 7th. And I looked at the schedules, and I know UTSA's got a big game that day against Texas State and the Longhorns. I looked and went, yeah, I can miss those games. I'll follow them on the phone. I'm going to Denver to watch Green Day.
You brought up the NFL draft. And for anyone who's curious, last night while watching the play-in games, Jason did 6 different mock drafts. And so he's going to walk us through the intricate details of them all and tell us his big board and where he has all of the players ranked and what he saw on the tape.
Lying to the people. I hate mock drafts. I did 14 of them. Don't undersell
NFL
me.
draft from a 30,000-foot perspective, what the Cowboys should or could do 1 week from tonight when we get back here on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
It's the 2024 NFL Draft on 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
We're the 24th pick. The Dallas Cowboys select
April 25th, 26th, and 27th. Join 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star for this year's NFL Draft. Live from Detroit.
I love the tenacity and the aggression with which he plays. He is a mauler.
Who do the Cowboys and Texans pick? Does Jerry make a splash? Who goes number 1? And who's the next Mr. Irrelevant?
the Houston Texans select C.J. Stroud.
You don't ever want to pass on the guy you ought to be taking there, but still be position select.
I thought Sauce Gardner would be the first corner, but you go back to 2019, and that version of Derek Stingley is as good as anybody in this entire draft class.
Find out right here on your exclusive home for the NFL Draft. 94.1 San Antonio Sports Star.
GiveMeTheVin.com is America's best car buyer, paying top dollar for your car, truck, sports car, exotic. What are you waiting for? We want to buy your car right now. Find out why. Thousands of satisfied customers across the United States put more money in their pocket by going to GiveMeTheVin.com. I told my buyers, let's get them bought. Right now is the time to go.
Sell us your car. GiveMeTheVin.com. So easy you can do it in your underwear.
Heart Royal Flush Tour 2024. May 1st, Frostbank Center. A journey through the hits and timeless classics. The iconic band
returns with special guest Cheap Trick. Tickets on sale now at heart-music.com. Don't miss 2 Rock and Roll Hall of Fame inductees. Heart with Cheap Trick live.
Get the last water softener you'll ever own and tell them
Best water softener you'll ever own. Call 656 Pure Kinetico.
Visit KineticoSA.com.
Wouldn't it be great if life came with a remote control? You know, you could hit pause when you needed to, or hit rewind, like that time you knocked down that wasp's nest.
Uh-oh.
Well, life doesn't always give you time to change the outcome, but prediabetes does. With early diagnosis and a few healthy changes, you can stop prediabetes before it leads to type 2 diabetes. To learn your risk, take the 1-minute test today at doihaveprediabetes.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council and its prediabetes awareness partners.
Without the ones like you, who work tirelessly to keep things running, everything would suddenly stop. Hospitals, factories, schools, and power plants, they all depend on you. No matter the weather, emergency, or time of day, you're the ones who get it done. At Grainger, we're here for you with professional-grade industrial supplies. Count on real-time product availability and fast delivery. Call, click Grainger.com, or just stop by. Grainger, for the ones who get it done.
The future of medicine is here at QC Kinetics. QC is the nation's leader in the most exciting revolution in pain management we've seen in decades, regenerative medicine. If you're tired of achy joints, your joint pain keeping you from doing what you love, then you need to call QC Kinetics now. Surgery, steroids, drugs, these are no longer your best options. Regenerative medicine at QC Kinetics is transforming lives with innovative treatments that deliver lasting results. We're talking natural biologics using your own body's power to repair and restore damaged tissue. QC Kinetics is under the leadership of National Medical Director Dr. Mitchell Scheinkup. Dr. Scheinkup is a pioneer in this field with 20 years of clinical work, tons of research, teaching, and publishing. He wants to get you relief with a needle, not a knife. Call now to learn more about some exciting options in this revolutionary approach to get you long-term relief with no downtime. So what are you waiting for? Call QC Kinetics now for a free consultation. 210-571-0318. That's 210-571-0318. Locations in Hollywood Park, Westover Hills, and New Braunfels.
94.1 FM, San Antonio Sports Star. Wake up with the Morning Huddle.
Jason Minix, NFL draft expert extraordinaire, broke down the tape in a way that only he can. What's it like just getting in the lab, cutting up the tape?
Well, you know, you got to get like 18 cups of coffee, 3 packs of cigarettes, get your all your TV monitors together, leave your phone outside so you could just concentrate, man. Get 7, 8 different notebooks and a bunch of pens, and you just start writing notes and hope that you could read them later, because typically I can't read my notes later. But that said, I did go break down the tape, and I still want the Cowboys to take an offensive lineman. The Cowboys will take an offensive lineman. I don't know which one. I don't know which one they will take, but they will take an offensive lineman. I know Peter Schrager has had a lot of fun creating debate, and I could talk myself into that argument, whether it was that receiver or a different one. No, and again, I don't think they will. But if they did, to your point, this draft, what they do on Thursday night, they're going to show us their cards. We're going to have an idea, a really good idea of what their actual plan is on Thursday night with what they do in the draft. You might not agree with it, but if they take a wide receiver, that tells me CD is on his way out. I've had this theory for a while that wide receivers are getting so damn expensive, and there are so many of them, talented wide receivers, because of the way high school football is played, the way college football is played. There are a lot of wide receivers out there that they could let CeeDee Lamb walk and not give him $30-some-odd million a year and draft another one. Wide receivers are going to go the way of the running back, because of supply and demand. If the Cowboys were to take a wide receiver, it would tell me, hey, they love CD, but not for $30 million. I'll get another one.
I wouldn't read into it that way personally, because what differentiates wide receiver from running back, because I get your the spirit of your point, but you can a great wide receiver can carry an offense by himself. A great running back can't. There's a level of just natural dependency on running backs because
I disagree with that because a great wide receiver can't just carry an offense. A great wide receiver needs a great quarterback to get him the ball. And if the offensive line isn't giving enough protection, he won't get the ball. And I don't know, our great wide receiver, CeeDee Lamb, who's about to get $30 million a year, had a couple of big drops early in that Green Bay game.
Did DeAndre Hopkins have a great quarterback for most of his Houston Texans career?
No.
Right, and he found a way to be one of the best wide receivers in the NFL, right? That's the point.
A great wide receiver that took Houston to how many Super Bowls?
Okay, well, if that's the metric, then
who got
Devontae
traded
Adams
for
sucks.
a bag of chips and a diet? It got traded to for a bag of chips and a Diet Coke, right?
So
I mean,
I
get
my
what you're
point is,
saying. I do get what you're saying.
I'm not,
but I can go
ready
get another
to,
wide receiver.
But the other thing that differentiates wide receiver from running back is you need multiple of them. You don't need multiple, amazing running backs. But in today's day and age, you mentioned the way the game is played. You need a number of passing options. You need a number of tried and true, legitimate pass catching options. So you need one wide receiver who's a baller. You need another wide receiver who's a baller, unless you're Patrick Mahomes, right? Then you can make up for anything and everything by yourself. But most people are not. So that being said, all that to say, I would be irate if they drafted Xavier Worthy in the first round. That would be, Jason, I need you to start eating healthier. I need you to, when you're like, okay, but what if I deep fried all of this and dipped it in ranch and then sprinkled some powdered sugar on top of it for good measure? That would be bad.
As I explained to my wife when she makes me broccoli and cheese, there's still broccoli involved. There's still broccoli involved. Give me some credit. No, I get what you're saying. And I, too, would not be happy with the Dallas Cowboys if they drafted a wide receiver, right? Whether it's Worthy or somebody else. But that would tell me that the plan is they're not going to give CeeDee Lamb that kind of money. And again, I do think I know what you're saying in the spirit of what you're saying. There are quarterbacks that throw wide receivers open all the time. I look at Devontae Adams and how great he was with Aaron Rodgers, and he's been okay without Aaron Rodgers. Not the same guy. The quarterback is the one guy. There's 32 jobs, and there's not 32 guys on the planet that play it at the highest of high levels. That's your priority. And if you feel like you have one of those, that could be. You can have him, or he could be. And Dak is still in that could be because he doesn't have a Super Bowl. But Jerry does not want to start over. And if you've got to look at how are we going to pay all these guys, not paying CD would be one of those options if I can get another top flight wide receiver. The Cowboys have a bunch of wide receivers on the roster already. None of them are capable of doing what CeeDee Lamb does. Brandon Cooks has one more year. He's going to be out. Jalen Tolbert has not worked out yet. The other guys there would have got 3 other Jalens, and none of the Jalens combined are as good as CeeDee Lamb. So, again, I don't agree with it, but if they were, they're showing us our cards. And what we want to know right now is what is the plan. And like when they drafted CeeDee Lamb, we were all thinking they were going to take a defensive player. CeeDee Lamb was there. Oh, Jerry couldn't help himself. Jerry wants the shiny object. Xavier Worthy is shiny object.
I still don't think that even Xavier Worthy would really mean much relative to CeeDee Lamb. But the cards, I mean, because look, and if they talk that way, that would be really interesting. And they will. It was 2 years ago that after the draft, Steven was asked about this, that, and the other, and he said, "Well, we're always looking ahead. Zeke's making a lot of money, and the writing was on the wall for Zeke at that point in time. So if they offer something along those lines, I'll kind of buy into that theory a little bit more. But for now, I think CD's okay. That being said, the cards that I really want to read, the answer that I really want is, you said you want an offensive lineman in the first round. I don't know if you want to tackle, if you want to guard, whatever. And the reason, and maybe you don't know, is because we don't know how they view Tyler Smith. If they draft a tackle, do they view Tyler Smith as a guard? I mean, if they view Tyler Smith as a tackle, then I'm not as freaked out about the left tackle situation because it's obviously in his hands with Tyron now playing for the Jets. So they have danced around that topic all off season long. They're not going to be able to hide, and good for them being strategic about that. I don't have a problem with that, but I'm excited to finally learn and have an answer on that front.
And again, whether you agree with the answer or not, you're going to have your answer, right?
Right.
And again, I want the best fat guy available that's going to be a potential 10-year starter. Now, you look at JPP, the center out of Oregon. Is he as important as a left tackle? No. A left tackle to me has to be the priority. But do you want the best left tackle available at pick number 24 or the best offensive lineman available at pick 24? So if you've got JPP graded higher, do you take the center instead of the tackle? Or what'd I say?
You said JPP, the former pass rusher.
No, the other one. Yeah, the duck guy.
Right.
And again, those are going to be the discussions. And because it's the Dallas Cowboys, we'll hear the audio at some point in the offseason from the war room. Kind of like hearing this week the audio on their discussions on Mozzie Smith, where it just underlines that guy was a disappointment in his rookie year. Doesn't mean he won't develop into being what they expected, but they drafted him expecting immediate impact. Mike McCarthy says in that clip, well, we're immediately better in the run defense with Mozzie. Yeah, you weren't. He didn't pan out. But you have an option. Would you rather have RJ, Tyler Smith, who is looking like an incredible guard, right? And they want to leave him at guard. I could see that. But as a rookie this year, would you rather have Tyler move out to left tackle? And even if you drafted a left tackle, have that player move guard or be a backup or a swing or whatever, just to make sure Dak doesn't get destroyed in the first couple weeks while the rookie left tackle is learning how to play in the NFL?
So the clip you're talking about was from their decision-making process last year. I was telling Rob yesterday, I wrote about this last year when it came out, and the debate that they were having was between Mozzie and Matthew Bergeron, who went to the
Who
Atlanta
ended
Falcons.
up with Atlanta, yeah.
Right. So in referring to Bergeron, they refer to him as a guard, which is interesting to think back on now, because they were seemingly considering taking him in the first round, right? Like that was the debate, the literal debate. That was the most premium asset that they had at their disposal. And they gave serious merit and serious consideration to taking a guard when Tyler Smith was coming off of an incredible season playing left tackle as a rookie, and Tyron was obviously coming back. So to me, if we're tasked with reading between the lines, if we're trying to read the tea leaves, to me that suggests that they felt like the true hole was at guard, and that maybe Tyler, at the time we were having conversations, Tyler should play left tackle full time. Tyron can be your swing tackle. He can come in emergencies. There's no way he can be healthy the whole season, whatever, blah, blah, blah. That would imply to me that they view Tyler as the left tackle option. And that makes sense because it's difficult to trust that to a rookie, even though they did it with him specifically 2 years ago.
And again, I mean, they were kind of forced into it. I look at this year, Tyler is going to be at tackle. Even though he said on a podcast not long ago with Brock Hoffman, who knew he had a podcast, that he views himself as a guard, and he's played well there. And maybe he ends up back in that position. It's kind of like early in his career when Zach Martin would kick out and play tackle when called upon. More comfortable and better as a guard. But I also thought that one of the reasons why, especially the last couple years when there was injuries at the tackle position, they didn't put Zach Martin at tackle. It wasn't because he's not comfortable. It's because he offered so much protection for Tyler Biadasz that you couldn't move Zach Martin out of that position, because otherwise Tyler Biadasz would have been exposed big time.
And that's why, I mean, let's fast forward 8 days. Next Friday morning, we're sitting here reacting to what the Cowboys did Thursday night. The way they can take step one to earning some trust back from me, at least, is presuming he's available. You take Jackson Powers Johnson, you take care of your center position, you're good to go there, and you move forward with Tyler Smith as your option at left tackle. If you told me your offensive line left to right is Tyler, call it TJ Bass, Jackson Powers Johnson, Zach Martin, and Terrence Steele, fine. And I think it's also worth mentioning that Jerry has thrown out the idea of Terrence Steele playing left guard in the past. So, that's a theoretical option at the very least. But
and it's an option, especially if Matt Walesko actually sees the field and
a right tackle,
and can play tackle and can be the guy that Steven has tried to tell us that he is. There's a lot of hope with Matt Walesko. To that point, also, you have a Brock Hoffman who could play center or play guard. And you've got Richards as well, who, when you think about last year when Hoffman had to play and when Richards had to play, they weren't disasters, right? So maybe that's where some of that confidence in the front office is coming from. It's not like a couple of years ago where they had a backup lineman in Atlanta give up 81 sacks in 4 plays. It wasn't a disaster when those guys were playing, but we don't know them. So we're uncomfortable as fans thinking they could come in and do the job. The Cowboys know them, and maybe they are comfortable, but when those guys had to play last year, they weren't disasters. So maybe they are ready to step up and take over those roles.
That all becomes a little bit easier if you take care of something like center, which is why, I know we had some fun with the tape grinding and things like that. If you ask me, like, who do you want in the first round, it's Jack Johnson. And that's why I hated the Xavier Worthy mock from Peter Schrager so much, was because, well, first of all, Jackson Powers Johnson didn't go in the first round at all. And there's injury concerns about him, and sometimes that causes a player to slide. I get that. But to your kind of point, I would rather take the very best center in the draft as opposed to like the 6th best tackle. I understand it's a tackle deep class, but at this point, you have to take care. You have to fix something. There's water breaking out of the dam at a bunch of different places right now. You're doing one of those like those like reaction tests where like people are on the wall and the lights are bound. You've got to like touch like 6 different lights all over the board right now to stop the flow of water. So if you can plug up the middle, the center, no pun intended, that's a big step one. And now all of a sudden everything else becomes less intimidating all around it.
Now that said, as you talk about fixing their problems, do the Cowboys view that as a problem, or have they already solved that with a guy like Hoffman? So I say that because I'm with you. Brock, when he played last year, he was fine. There were no issues. At least from my vantage point. I don't know how to grade offensive linemen other than, are they giving up a lot of sacks? Do they appear when I'm watching they get beat all the time, or they get a bunch of holding penalties? I don't know how to grade an offensive lineman, but they do. Maybe they're comfortable with Brock Hoffman there. Their priority might be a little different. And the Cowboys this year have certainly held those cards very close to their vest on where they feel their glaring holes are. They might think Brock is good enough to not use the first-round pick on a center when they might be able to get something else because there's another center that they have graded maybe not as high, but close, that they think might be available later in the draft.
Taylor Bertolini, kind of a 3rd round, maybe, day 3 dude. From Wisconsin, you could go right back to that well. You know what I mean?
Oddish was a 4th-round pick from Wisconsin.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. Well, they don't have a 4th-round pick right now. So, I mean.
They don't. But and would you be surprised if at 24, kind of like the Travis Frederick draft, since we're going to stay with centers,
the dream.
If they traded back, picked up an extra, and remember when nobody was happy with Travis Frederick, he had a 2nd-round grade. As late as he was in the 1st, it's basically 2nd, but look what they were able to do.
It was, that's the dream. If again, 8 days from now, we're sitting here, we're all talking, you'll still be asleep even at 9:51 because
we're next Thursday, the Blitz live at the Roo Pub. I'll have a late night, so maybe.
So if they trade that back in the 1st round not out of it entirely, but trade back, pick up an extra third. Okay, now you've got some resources. Now you have a little bit more ammunition. You have another top 100 pick, and you still walk away with somebody like Jackson Powers Johnson. That is the nirvana that we can reach, the obtainable nirvana right now. And we start to have different conversations. But that has to happen first.
Well, hopefully it doesn't become a never mind moment if that is the case. But when you look at last year, does what happened last year, if the phone rings for the Cowboys this year, change? Because last year, when they were selecting in the first round and debating Bergeron and Mozzie Smith, the phone rang and it was the Chiefs. They could have picked up an additional pick in the third round, I believe, and all they had to do is move back 5 spots. Looking at the way the draft went, likely they still could have got Mozzie or Bergeron, because Bergeron didn't go until the second round. Maybe Mozzie's there. Who knows? But they still could have gotten one of the 2 players that they were arguing for last year by moving back 5 spots with Kansas City.
You have to consider it. I also think that we might see a team more willing to trade around throughout the draft. Not around literally, but just move in different directions. I saw this point from Jeff Kavanaugh from 97.1 The Freak. He tweeted this out yesterday. They're projected to get like 5 compensatory picks right now because of how little they've done in free agency and all the players that they've lost. They're projected to get a handful of 5th, 6th, round compensatory picks. Those aren't official yet, but those are their projections. And so if they hold true to that, if they don't make any free agency moves to impact that, and let's be real, we obviously know that that's not going to happen, then they know that that's coming. So that gives them some flexibility with their standard 5th and 6th round picks next year. Does that make sense? They know that they can use that as ammunition to move around in the draft this year because they have those draft picks coming next year. And they can continue. That's the kind of forward thinking that we want to see. Give us some semblance of forward thinking, and we'll give you the teeniest, tiniest amount of flowers.
I think they do always think too far down in the future, and that's what's biting them in the ass. They're always working on a 5-year plan when they need to work on a 3-year plan. They're always, more worried about those extra picks that they might get up as what they're doing now. Drives me nuts. Drives you nuts, by the way.
It does. But you know what doesn't drive me nuts? You. So I'm glad I had 4 hours of fun with you, and you have 4 more hours of fun later on today. You guys are, where are you going to be? Give us the 411 once again.
The Blitz live today at Taste of the North Side over at the Security Service Event Center there, I-10 at 1604 by UTSA Boulevard. Tickets available, tasteofthenorthside.org, promo code STAR. Save yourself $25 on the tickets. It's my favorite Fiesta event, a Fiesta event for foodies. The Blitz live today starting at 2 o'clock.
And if you walk up to Jason Minix and you say, Lima Lima Ding Dong, Joe Reinagle will give you a hug. Those are the official rules of the day.
I don't know that that's going to happen, but Joe Reinagle will buy you a beer tonight and some food. Oh, wait.
Well,
nobody reaches for your wallet once you get into Taste of the North Side. It's fantastic.
Y'all have a great time. We had a great time. Thanks so much to everybody for hanging out with us today. We wish you wonderful days, wonderful endeavors, wonderful meals, wonderful opportunities, and just wonderful things all the way around, because you're wonderful people and you deserve the absolute best. We have another day of sports talk coming your way mañana. So until then, we'll see you then. Y'all stay cool.
This is Jim Rome. Have a take, don't suck on 94.1 San Antonio Sports.